Hello everyone and welcome to Wheels Up Live, and we're glad to be back here in the PMDG 777. Today we're going to be going from Dubai to Kuwait. It's another one of these shorter routes where the 777-300ER is actually used. Hey, what do you know? Who knew? No, just kidding. As you know, Emirates operates a very large fleet of 777s, including the 300ER and a few of the LR as well. And of course, they have the massive collection of A380s. But as it just so happens, they use a lot of these 300ERs for shorter flights, and that benefits us in terms of doing a live stream, because I don't think you all want to sit around for 40 hours. Okay. So what we're hearing here is a lot of extra noise outside. I might see if I can tamp that down a little bit, but it's a little bit hazy here in Dubai, and needless to say, it's a warm and toasty day. Big shock, right? So let's talk about that. We can take a quick look at the ATIS here. We are live on VATSIM. I guess across the land is going on today, so there's quite a bit of traffic generally in the area. But Dubai Airport is not one of the participating airports. However, Abu Dhabi is, so there's quite a bit of traffic over there, I guess. And we do have a few people on the ground here, and today we do have Dubai Tower on. So there's a bit of action going on. In our previous flights, we hadn't used VATSIM. We were sort of testing all of the different options here and just making sure things work. I think we're satisfactory that it does. Crossing our fingers. And so what we're going to do today is this flight. And one of the things I wanted to do was to spend a little extra time on the FMC. There's always questions about the FMC. How do you do this? How do you do that? How does this work? What's the plane telling us? Why do I care? All of those good questions. And so what I've done here is I've started in my standard cold and dark state, and I have just gone through the electrical power startup, and I did turn on the ADA. So the IRS has started aligning, and we just need to put our position in the FMC. I did take the liberty over here in the electronic flight bag of not pulling the flight data. Here we go. Alright, so as I mentioned, we're a 777-300ER, or the Bravo 77 Whiskey, and this is our aircraft reg. Pretty sure I got the right one. Oh, hey, what do you know? So this is from flightsim.to, and I believe this is an Ethereum livery. I'm not 100% positive. I apologize, but I believe it is. And then, of course, what we're going to do, we can just check that weather here versus what we saw in the ATIS. Looks pretty similar, right? They had winds at 340 and 5 knots, and then we had some variable winds, and we've looking pretty good otherwise in terms of conditions. It's toasty, 34. QNH is 1000. Okay. So what we'll do now is we'll just take a quick look, make sure our overheads is where things are expected. We'll just check over here, make sure all our upper panel are closed, cargo temps just set on normal. That all looks fine. We can do a quick sweep through here. Again, we've got all of our switches in the positions they're supposed to be. We talked about some of those last week. I won't repeat them all for you again. We don't have the APU on just yet. We're on external power. Actually, let me just add an air unit. There we go, an air unit. I went ahead and just connected a jetway, but we're going to sort of instant load here. We're not going to play the GSX game. today because I want to focus more of our time on the FMC. And then we come down through here. We got our window heat on already. Service interphone is off. Emergency lights are armed. Where passenger oxygen is closed and guarded. Hydraulics are all off. Seatbelt sign. I'm just going to put it at auto. Actually, yeah, we'll put it at auto for now. Our lights are where we need them to be. No problem there. Come up top. All of these are in their proper, they're not illuminated. They're pushed in, etc. We've got our auto start on, normal and normal. Fuel jettison panel is as it should be. Don't have the fuel on just yet. Anti-ice is in auto, and we've got the nav light on. Other lights are off. Air conditioning here is on auto, etc. The recirc fans, gas burp, etc. So all of those are in the in our standard positions. And we can just come down here, and we'll double check that these are all guarded and closed. The landing gear lever is down, and our alternate flaps is off, and our alternate flaps arm is closed and guarded. Fuel switches are cut off. We'll make sure we've got some comms on. I'd like to just double check that we've done that. I can put the center on, although we've got it on data right now, so it's not going to be a factor. And we're good to go on that. Right now I'm just going to set our transponder 2000 till we get a squawk code from our ETC. Alright, so we're going to come up here. As I said, we're going to spend a little more time today talking about the FMC. So one of the things that we see regularly in the unofficial PMDG discourse, lots of questions about the FMC and what to do, how to use it, etc. There are lots of good guides out there. The 777 is not substantially different in its operation from the 747, the 737, if I recall the 757, 767, they're all pretty similar. That's good in a sense that once you get the hang of it, you can pretty much make it run. It's not unlike Airbus in that way, where once you have some basic mastery, it will work for you. One of the things, by the way, if you're in chat, please let me know. Maybe just drop a message in there, or if questions come up, happy to entertain them. Alright, so let's have a look here. We're going to go to the FMC. That's going to be our start point, as always. And on the ident page, we talked about this a little bit last week, but we'll come around to it again. So we want to check our model. Yes, it's a 777-300. Our engine, yes, this is the engine. There's only one engine. And that our air rack data is current, which it is. Okay, right now, I don't have any known information for the drag or fuel factor modifiers in terms of, does not appear in our flight plan. However, some of the flight plans let you do that. Some of the sim brief profiles for different planes, including this plane, have got at least a fuel factor in there. And so if you actually see one of those in your flight plan, you can use that. Now you might be thinking, but well, okay, so how would I do that? So maybe if I had a fuel factor, maybe I'd hit /2.2 maybe? No, that doesn't do anything. What if it was maybe plus 2.2? Is that it? No, it doesn't do anything. Okay, so this is one of these little interesting tidbits that shows up in the FMC here. In order to use this function, you have to specifically tell it you want to change it. And so you arm it. And if you arm it, you can then modify that. So I could go /+2.0, for example, and it would now accept that. I don't actually have such a factor, so I'm just going to return it to its normal state. But that's how you would do that. Okay. for our pause in it, that's of course our position initialization. We're going to tell normally we just tell the FMC what airport we are currently located in. That's OMDB. And we tell it that there in the reference airport. Now note when we do that, it brings up the latitude and longitude for the airport. And you'll notice that it's telling you its last position is at a very similar location, but slightly different. And that's just reflecting that the plane is not sitting in the dead center of the airport, which is essentially what the OMDB reference airport information is showing from the nav data. Instead, we're looking at GPS position. And in order to tell the system where we are, it's best to use the GPS. It's our most accurate information about the plane location. So we're going to tell it that, and then that's going to set the inertial position, right? So we have inertial navigation system in this plane too, which is what all the IRS aligning is about. So we tell it that, and now it has that. So if we were to look at additional information, it would tell us that the FMC GPS is showing us at this location, the inertial is now showing us at this location, and again, the other GPS available in the system is showing you here as well. Okay, so that's kind of that's a little thing that you could do a reality check on, and then there's some more GPS information in terms of left, right, and what the FMCs are showing. But in general, you only need this page. I mean, you might have an occasion where you have some concern that there's some inaccuracy. You could come in here and look at that versus the IRS, but that's the inertial reference system IRS. But you don't need it for this particular point. Okay, now for the route, we are going OMDB, right? And give it a moment to enter itself. And then our other airport's going to be OKKK, and we'll put that in. I'm using a little external FMC to input some of this because it gets a little annoying with the mouse at some point. Now, in the PMDG, as you are probably aware, it has the capabilities of linking directly with SimBrief. And so if we went to the route request here, you can see that we've got a SimBrief route enabled in there. We're actually going to do a manual entry of the route, but I'm just going to borrow the SimBrief route for a moment here because I'm going to do two things. I'm going to let it set the payload, which I've just done, and I'm going to let it set the fuel, which I've just done. So now we've got the block fuel from our flight plan and the payload from our flight plan. And just to show you, okay, the payload is 196,648, and that's in kilos. And then the block fuel is 22,496, again in kilos. All right, so we've got that in there, but I'm not going to have it select the route. We're going to do the route ourselves. Okay, so here we are, and now I'm going to say, well, if I don't do an automatic route update, how do I get the route in here? That's an excellent question. So let's assume for a moment that you were using company uploads, so-called ACARs, to go ahead and get all of this information automatically uploaded to you, which is very, very common in modern aviation, especially at the big airlines. Now, there's always possible that it's not working, or maybe your airline is really cheap. I wouldn't count on that. But I'm just going to move us a little bit this way so you can see both the flight plan information and the CDU at the same time here. Okay, So we're going to have a quick look here. Just making sure up at the top we've got our flight plan. This is the Lido flight plan. Some people love it, some people hate it, but it does the job for the moment. And we're going to come down here and have a look. One thing that's nice here is the routing is pretty straightforward. So what it's telling us, right, is this is our runway. This is our standard instrument departure, the SID, as you sometimes call them. This is our first waypoint. This is some airways we're going to travel on. Then we're going to go to this point, another airway, this point, airway, this point, etc. Then we're going to get on the star, which is the standard terminal arrival, right? And then we're going to land, hypothetically, in Kuwait on runway 33 right. We'll have to check that as we progress. Okay, so how do I add that? Well, the typical way you would start this is you'd start not with the runway and the SID, but you'd start with the basic route pieces right here, because that's what you're going to enter on the CDU. Okay, so the first place we're going to is RIDAP, if that's how you pronounce that. There is no proven way to pronounce most of these. All right, so I put RIDAP in the scratch pad, right? That's this area here. When you start typing, it's called the scratch pad. And then I just put it on line select key 1 right. All right, so that's our first point. It knows that. Wonderful. Then we're going to go on an airway. So you see on the left-hand side, we have a column called via, however you want to pronounce it. And what that's telling you is you might be going direct, or you might be going on an airway, or you might be going on a SID or a star. So for our purposes here, we have an airway, and that's Mike 557. So I'm going to put Mike 557. Okay. And as you can see, I have that in there. But where are we getting off of the airway? What's our endpoint for that? And that is 2MAC. So that's Tango, Uniform, Mike, Alpha, Kilo, and we've got that in. All right, we're going to follow the same process now again, because, shock of all shocks, the next location, or the next path, is another airway, and that's going to take us to Kumbo. A-U-M-B-O. All right, and then we have another airway, Alpha 453, and that's going to take us to DEBT, Delta, Echo, Bravo, Tango, India, and now we have these route pieces into our system. Now, at this point, we could make this an active route. So if you look up here where it says route 1, you can see it's in blue here, and it's not active. If it were active, we would see Alpha Charlie Tango next to route 1, and it'd be in white. So it would tell us that it's active. So right now, this is just something we've typed in. It's the FMC wouldn't follow this route. Nothing would happen just based on what we have typed in at the moment. So just to clarify that for you, this is not an active route. And when you want to activate it, as you can see down on line select key 6 right, if you press the activate, there's still another step. You have to execute it. And you may notice that the execute button now has an illuminated LED right above the button. That is an indication to you that you have not executed that. You could choose not to. You could come back. You could erase it. Okay, so now we're back where we were. But for our purposes, let's go ahead and activate that. All right, so now we have that in. The next thing we want to do is we're going to want to go and put what we think is going to be our departing runway, our SID, our landing runway, and a star if applicable. Again, you may not have a SID, you may not have a star, but somewhere you're going to have a runway. So let's go to the departure and arrival button. See this right here? So we have departure and arrival, and if you press on that, it starts you in the departures. See, it says OMDB departures. Now, when we looked at the ATIS a few minutes ago, which was information Bravo, and information Bravo is still current, it told us that the departing runway here is going to be 30 right. Okay, so we're going to select 30 right. Great. Now, in our flight plan, we also had a SID, and you saw that a moment ago. Let me bring that back. SID here is the RIDAP to Foxtrot. Now, I've also got this up in Navigraph, just so you can see. Here is that departure. You can see it's going to take off of runway 30 left or right, but in our case it's going to be right. And we're going to go from there to Delta Bravo 570, Delta Bravo 584, Delta Bravo 585, ORLAD, KICOG, and RIDAP. So that's the path that it's going to take, and it tells you retells you the routing right here. You can see we saw that there, and you can see that there are some speeds indicated in here as well. But for the moment, we're just going to go ahead and assume that that is our departure. Usually with VATSIM or even in the real world, the departures don't change that much unless something's going on at the airport. So that's what we'll use for the moment. And so let's find that in the list. We've already selected 30 right, and there's the RIDA to Foxtrot. You can see it cut off the P, but you get the gist. All right. Now you have your departure set. Notice that I've done this and the execute button has illuminated. So it's telling you that you essentially have put enough information in regarding the departure that you can execute that and have it become a part of the flight plan. So let's go ahead and do that. Now, let's go ahead and go to the other side of our flight, of course, the arrival. Now, some airlines, some people on that you're going to fly with here virtually, they may not enter this information initially. I personally like to enter it, and I know a lot of airlines do as well. So we will go, let's go back there just a second. Sorry, put the index. So you see here we have OKK arrival, OKKK arrival. So we clicked on that. Our flight plan's telling us initially that it thinks it's going to be 33 right. So make it 33 right. Now, what approach, arrival, etc. do we think we might be using? It's a 777. I would say most of the time when you look at a 777, these big wide bodies, and they go to these big international airports, they're coming in on an ILS. So let's pick an ILS. What does it think we're going to use? Interestingly, it'll generally pick some kind of default ILS option. So here we have the ILS Yankee for runway 33 right. Okay, we can do that. And we'd be looking for a transition. Well, if we look at our star that we're coming in on, you can see here, this is the star, it's taking us right into the final for the runway. So our transition for this is going to be final. We're not going to need one of these other transitions to the west or the east or the north, etc. And we won't be coming from that from the airport. So we'll just go ahead and take a final transition. So I've added that to the route here, but of course we have to add it to the route in the plane, right? So let's come back. Oops, apologies. Keep that up for you so you can see. We're going to put in the ILS 33 right, ILS Yankee 33 right, and our star that we're using is the Det 3 Charlie, and I've added that. And do we have a transition? That's an interesting question, right? Remember we were looking at that? Where is it? So if you go back and look again, some of the transitions that it was proposing, let's look again, notice some of those transitions are the same. Aslan, which is to the southwest, and Tabto to the northeast, but we don't need either of those. So we're just going to leave them there. And again, it's given us the execute option because we have enough information to go on. We don't need a final transition. So we're going to execute that. Now, if we go back and look at our route, let's come back here. We have page 1. Notice that runway 30 right has been populated. Okay? And notice now that the first via is our SID that's taking us out to RIDAP. So it's not a direct. We might have had a direct, but it's not. We're going to go to RIDAP. The rest of this looks the same in the middle, but then notice down here on row 5, we now have our star, the Det 3 Charlie. And that's taking us a location called Jinbi, but I don't remember Jinbi, right? Where's Jinbi? So if we scroll down and have a look at our flight plan, we'll see that it's going to take us on our last point on the star to Jinbi. So we'll double check that in a moment to see if it lines up in our legs page, right? But we'll come back to that in a second. All right, so we have now entered our route, and as you can see on page 3, we have our ILS Yankee 33 right. That'll take us to the runway, and then the missed approach takes us out to Ludum. And let's have a quick look again at our chart here. So if we look at our ILS chart, where does it take you if you missed approach? Here's your missed approach, comes around here, takes you out to Ludum. Where are you going to hold? Okay, so that looks right. Generally on the route. Now mind you, the route is the broad brushstrokes of the navigational flight plan, right? Because if you come back up here and we look at this route, here's the basic route. And that's really what we're seeing over here in the route section of the FMC. But when we scroll down, you might remember there's a lot of other points. Because if you remember when we looked at the SID, there were several points on the SID. And then when you look at these airways, once you're on them, there are intermediate points in these airways that are not the start point or the end point, so they aren't shown in the route, but they are shown in the legs page. So let's come back and have a look at the legs page. All right. Notice here we have a conditional waypoint. This is, telling you you're on this track, 460 feet. Okay, we'll come back to that in a minute. Then we're going to DB 570, Delta Bravo 570, Delta Bravo 584. You see what I mean? And we're continuing along. And what you want to do, of course, is check that your legs page is matching up with your flight plan, your operational flight plan. So Kikox, RIDAP, Otiki, Tatku, Godki, Ralmi, Tumac, Vidam, Orlub, Vilak, Labop, Altum, Bopov, and notice, actually apologies, forget that, Bopov, Egnum, Almok, Gitbo, Vidos, Mogus, etc., etc. We'll find that these pretty much line up. I'm not going to read out every single one for you, but we're going to double check it. We're going to walk through this. Now, if you were doing a flight with ETOPS where, say, you're going transatlantic, you're going trans-Pacific, you definitely want to double check all of your lat launch coordinate points to make sure you haven't misentered any of those. Kumbo, Gesek, Debti. Again, remember, Debti was one of the key points. That's one of the names of our star areas. And then we have Petal, Ginby, and then we have the the final fix areas and the final fix, and then our runway. So if we go back and look again, at our Navigraph chart, you'll see that we have got Foxtrot India 33 right. Right? That's our final approach fix here at 2,000 feet. And voila, we have Foxtrot India 33 right. Okay? So we have that, and then we have the runway 33 right, and then we have the missed approach path. So that's what your legs page is telling you. Now, while we're looking at the legs page, this is a great time to look at some wind data. Notice that our wind, so let me take you back here. Go back to legs. If you look at route data, you'll notice here it's showing you the waypoints. There's no ETA yet, there's no fuel information yet, but showing you the waypoint. And it's showing you on the wind that if we go to the next page, I'm sorry, not next page, but if you look at the wind for that location, there is no wind in there yet, right? Okay, so come back to the route data. Let's request the wind. Now it's requesting the wind. All right, and it has sent our request. And hello to anybody who's on. Please go ahead and drop us something in chat. Just let me know if you're here or have any questions. All right, so we asked for the wind. It's now told us the wind's available. And this is one where we're not going to be manually entering it, although you could. You could manually enter a bunch of this wind. But for this one, we're going to do a little quick add to it. We'll just load here. So now we're loading, and you see that we've loaded. The caret symbol here is now showing you with a letter, which means it has some data. It's got wind data. It's also telling us that the descent forecast uplink is ready, but let's hold off on that for just a second. So let's go ahead and look at the sample wind data. Notice here the stuff is highlighted, showing its modification. We haven't accepted it yet, right? Because the execute button is alive and well here. For sake of our purposes, for the moment, we'll assume this is correct, and we'll hit execute. Now we have route data winds through all of our various points. So notice here's the point, Otiki, and here's the wind for the point. So each time I hit next page, it's taking me through that to wherever we might be in our flight plan. Now, you might be asking yourself, we've pulled this wind data, it's essentially coming from the SimBrief flight plan. And if we went back and looked at the flight plan, here is wind information. So you could manually enter this wind information. I don't know if you want to, but you can manually do it. Just so you know. It's a good way to cross-check as well. You can look at some of these, pick a spot and say, hey, does this make any sense when I look at it? Like Ignum, it's got 370, so we have 280. At 380 it's towing 280, 38, minus 47 on the OAT. And over here it's got minus 42, 1,000 feet lower, minus 42, 278, 37. You know, reality check. Does it seem logical? All right. So we've entered that wind. Now we can also enter our descent forecast for that. So if you go to the FMC COM button, this kind of sort of hidden, you'll note here that there are different options shown here. Route, we're showing our Route 1, alternates, performance, position reports. The wind is that main wind we were just looking at, but there's also a descent forecast. So if we click on that, we have a descent forecast that's been uploaded from SimBrief, and we can load that. You'll notice here there's no execute. So it's an interesting question as to that, because I suspect that probably it's just using it to get some VNAV path calculations, and it isn't really using it as a tool for fuel measurement. Notice here, see this transition level? This is one of these hidden little gems in the FMC. Over here it's telling you from the nav data that it has that when you're on descent, that when we're going to switch from standard to the local QNH is at flight level 150. I'm not 100% sure that's positive. That's correct. We'll double check that, but you can find that in here. It's a handy item. Interestingly, sometimes there's information, of course, in VNav that might help you in terms of what you're doing, but there's nothing in VNav yet. And why is that? Well, because we have not done the perf init page. And the perf init page is sort of the next step in our process now that we've got our route and our legs checked. So the perf init page is a crucial bit of work. It's important that you have this filled in, or I can guarantee you will have no VNav guidance, and or you will have unreliable VNav guidance if you have not done it correctly, and you will have some incorrect fuel burn information as well. So let's start on the left. We have the 0 fuel weight, which we know from looking at our plan is 196,648, which should round up to 196.7. Because we auto-loaded the 0 fuel weight, the payload, I'm just going to click the button right here, line select left 3. See, it's pre-populated it, although I note it hasn't rounded it up, but okay. And then we can just, so it clicked on it, it put it in the scratch pad, and then I pressed enter to put it on there. Okay, fine. Now we want our reserves, and our reserves here, at least on the Lido flight plan, it's basically just the alternate plus the final reserve fuel. So what have we got here? We've got 4, 7, 11, 9, 9.1. 9.1 on the reserves. What's our cruise altitude? Cruise altitude is actually right here. 380. So I'm just going to put 380. Watch, it's going to figure out I mean flight level. See, it did. And then our cost index is right here, telling us our cost index is going to be 31 for this flight. I've put that in. Notice that the minimum fuel temp, the cruise CG, they're already pre-populated. I have seen some flight plans where you might see the minimum fuel temp, but this is pretty much where you're going to see it. Step size, we're not doing steps, but if we were, the RVSM is just the reduced visual separation minimum. It's basically 2,000 between whatever direction you're heading. So if you're flying one direction, you'll be odd, even, etc. And so you go up if you're at 37, you go to 39. If you're at 38, you go to 40, or 38 to 36, etc. All right, so we've done the perf init page, and I want to emphasize again, this is one you definitely want to double check. Okay, it's one where it will throw you off. You will get the wrong numbers. You will get frustrating results. You will get insufficient fuel showing up on your FMC if you're not paying attention to this page. The other thing that you have to do is make sure that if you are entering information involving weights, that it is the same unit of measurement on your OFP as it is in the FMC. So if your OFP is in kilograms, FMC's got to be in kilograms, not pounds, etc. Just make sure, that's one of those just basic, hey, I'm double checking. Okay, so now we've done a manual flight plan, we've loaded the winds, a question's going to arise, well, how do I take off? Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at is thrust limit. And you'll notice, let's go back here just one moment. Let me go back to the perf init. Notice that the next step that it's telling you in here is right down here. It's telling you from here you should go to the thrust limit. So we're going to go to thrust limit. It's a process. You want to work through it. So let's do the calculation. All right. Essentially, this is going to be our takeoff calculation. It's how we're going to figure out what we need to put into the FMC, into the flight management computer, for it to calculate our takeoff performance. PMDG includes a takeoff performance calculator, and it's the easiest way to use this. So let's go to the performance tool, and I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see it. So here we are. It knows we are at OMDB. It doesn't know what runway we're using. So we tell it we're going to use 30 right. Okay, we've done that. Notice it tells you what the elevation is, the runway heading, the slope, if there was one, runway length, the conditions right now. You can change the conditions. So, if there was snow on the ground, highly unlikely at Dubai, but if there were, you could put that on. So we're just going to go with dry, because it's dry. As far as the aircraft information, it's basically weight and center of gravity. We're just going to import it from the aircraft, not the flight plan, because the aircraft has its own information, and for our purposes, we'll just take it from there. As far as our flap configuration, I just leave them at optimum. Rating, I leave it at optimum. I assume here the anti-ice is going to be off, and the AC will definitely be auto, which basically means on. And then I'll import the weather. Again, that's what we're showing right now, 340, 34 degrees, which is hot, and the QNH of 1000. So at this point, it's showing me my runway down here, 30 right, just confirming that, and I can hit continue, and it'll do a calculation. So acceleration height is one that's actually set by default in the FMC setting for your livery, so you can change that if you like. It's telling us we want flaps 5, and that our rating is going to be takeoff. So we're not going to have a D rate, and it's telling us as well that we will have a select temperature of 67, so cell temp. So let's go back to the thrust limit. What did it tell us? We're going to have a TO takeoff. Okay, just confirm that. I've clicked TO. Notice it's selected and it's armed. And as far as the D rate, we're going to put 67 because that's the cell temp right there. And as you can see, it's given us a little bit of a D rate. We're down to 89.6. That's almost the same as what we're seeing in the performance calculator. It's just a little bit higher. All right, the rest of this information, V1, VR, V2, etc., that's all going in the next page, which, let's come back to here, is the takeoff page. See, it's keeping you in sequence. Go to takeoff. What's it telling us? We want flaps 5. Yes, flaps 5. So I'll put 5 in the flaps. CG is already in the system here. If you just left click on the CG button, you'll notice that it has put the current CG down to the scratch pad, press it again, and it enters it. That's telling us our trim of 5.0, which is pretty close to the 4.9. And then as far as our VR, we have it showing us 144, 149, 157. There's probably a little difference because there's 2 pages to the takeoff page. We haven't put in the wind, runway, slope, or the OAT. I'm not going to change them here because we don't need to. We can just use the figures from the calculation. So we have 143 for V1, and we have 149 for VR. Okay, and then we have 157 for V2. All right, so now we have that in, and effectively now we have done what we need to do to use the to set up the FMC for takeoff. Now, there's other things, of course, that you can do. So one of the things you might do is you might prepare for a scenario in which you have an engine out on takeoff and you need to return to the field. So you could do something like set up a route 2. See where I pressed route 2? It's down here. So we go back to route 1. That's our active route. See, it says active. But if I press on the route 2 button, route 2 is in blue. It's telling it's not active. I could put in OMDB, and I could set up an ILS to return to 30 left, which is the landing runway, if we needed it. I'm not going to do that right for the moment, but you can do that. You can also copy the active route. I could just say I want the current route, and maybe I would put in an alternate landing airport, for example. So you have some options that are here. Now let's go back and look at the legs page for a moment. Notice now that we have altitude VNAV information in the system. And we also have speeds in the system, or anticipated speeds. If you notice here, some of the numbers are in large type and some are in small. Those are reflecting any particular requirement of a procedure, like you're going to be above 460 or at 460 at some point. You can ignore this first one, it's just conditional. But notice that these other ones are not hard and fast. We don't get to a hard and fast one until we look at one of our very last points here, which is coming in on our arrival, where we need to be at a certain altitude, and we've specified a speed and an altitude here. Like, for example, 170 knots at 2,000 feet. So there you go. But that's reflecting that. You can, of course, modify those, and we'll talk about that a little later when we're in flight. All right. Another thing that you can do is you can add fixes. So say you want a range ring or something like that to tell you where you are vis-a-vis a point. For example, the runway. You can add those. And they're pretty easy to add. So let's say I wanted to have a range ring for our landing airport. Right? Here's our landing airport. It's runway 33 right. I bring it down to the scratch pad. I go to fix. I bring it up to line select key 1. Now I'm going to add a fix for that. And I have a choice. I can do bearing and distance. I can just do distance. If I just do distance, for example, I want a 5-mile ring, I can add /005. And now when I get near there, I'm going to have a 5-mile ring around the runway. And I can add a couple of rings. And the fix info page allows you to add 4 different fix locations with different entries. You can also look in your VNAV now. You're going to have VNAV information. So your cruise altitude is going to be flight level 380. The econ speed cruise is going to be 0.829 Mach. Our transition altitude, that's where we're going to go from the local QNH to standard, is 13,000. I think that's correct. We'll double check probably. It's going to tell us what our econ cruise is again. I'm sorry, that was the econ climb. Sorry, econ climb and econ cruise. Similar information. It's giving you some idea about you know, how far you got to go to top of descent. What you might be looking at fuel when you get to the airport. OKKK. Estimated fuel, estimated time and fuel. It's got your current recommended optimal flight level. Optimal is 389, but your recommended is 380 because of our direction of travel. And it's going to tell you some information about your descent as well. Like, for example, at the transition speed at 10,000 feet, where you need to be under 250 knots, it's actually going to target 240. This is the descent speed it's going to target, etc. So there's a bunch of information for you there. And the forecast information you've already loaded. Remember, we did that earlier. Progress. Progress has some similar information. Distance to go to a particular point, 478 miles to Kuwait. Approximate ETA when we'll arrive. That's, of course, Zulu time. You can see it's in Zulu. And what we anticipate our fuel will be. To the top of climb, when we think it'll get there, based on the current time on our clock. This will tell us stuff that's going on when we're cruising. So, for example, tailwinds, crosswinds, etc., temperature outside. This is telling you some fuel quantity. It's the totalizer from the system in the plane and the calculator from the FMC. You can put a fix in, and it'll tell you when you might get there. Of course, you can look at that. If that fix, I would pick a fix that isn't in your flight plan, because you could look at those in the legs page if you need to. And this is telling us our required navigational performance progress if we needed to check that. So there's lots of stuff going on here. NavRad, one of the things we get a lot of questions about is, how do I set the ILS frequency and course? Well, unlike the 737, the 777 selects it itself. takes that information from the nav data. You can of course double check it here when applicable. All right, let's go ahead and see what's happening now on vPilot in terms of if we have any ATC here. It looks like we still do. It looks like we still have tower available. Let's double check our ATIS. Here's our ATIS. Still on Bravo. All right, so let's have a little fun with a different feature here, and that is the CPDLC options. Actually, for this stage, it's a PDC, right? Because we want a pre-departure clearance. So we can get our COM page on, right? And we'll go to ATC, and we want to request a. I'm sorry. We want to go flight information. Apologies, and go to departure clearance request. And what's our flight number? Well, our flight number is UAE 857. Okay, and our facility is OMDB. That's our departure. That's our destination. ATIS is Bravo still. And what's our gate? Ooh, trick question. I don't remember. Look at that. Foxtrot 13. Luckily, it tells us that we're not out to lunch. Foxtrot 13. Yes? Okay, we've done that. Now, I want to send this. Hopefully, they're listening. Sending. Sent. Well, we'll see if we get any response from the station, since tower is still on. If we don't, we'll go to tower and we'll ask for clearance verbally. So let's have a look here again. Have a look at our airport. Here's where we are. Everywhere's a hotspot. Welcome to Dubai Airport, right? So since we're taking off on 30 right, how do we think we might be taxiing here? This is a terrible demo of the taxiway, so let's change it so we can see the airport layout a little better. Here we go. Okay, I think, I actually can't remember if it's going to be Kilo or Zulu. I think it's going to be Kilo, and I think we'll be taking Kilo to Kilo 12, cross one way 30 left, and then we'll go Mike 15 Alpha, hold short 30 right. We'll probably have to hold short of 30 left as well. Let's have another quick look at this. If there's any set initial altitude. I don't see one, so we'll see. I may be slightly misinformed. There might be a standard here. I don't recall what it is. So, apologies for that. Alright, I'm not getting any sort of response yet, I don't think. Well, alright, we'll tune up the tower, which is going to be 118750. I think we're pretty much dealing with the 25 spacing, so I'm just gonna come in here, and I'm gonna put the COM spacing to 25 kilohertz. I think that is correct here. Yeah. Keep your fingers crossed. Okay. 118750.
Then expect another 10 minutes.
Roger, thank you.
Not sure how much traffic there is here. Oh my, looks pretty busy. Goodness. What the heck in the heck? I better double check that I am not interfering with a event, because I would feel very bad if I were doing that. Oh, that's not that bad, I guess. Doesn't look like it. Let's see if they... I'm just looking to see if they're accepting PDC requests. Well, it might be a bit busy with everything, so I'll just ask on the comms. Seems to be the easiest thing to do.
Dubai Tower is guided by 5 is ready when you are.
Scattered by 5, Rogers. Expect another 20 minutes. There's a lot of aircraft on a push, and Hamad is experiencing a big arrival and a big heap of arrivals, so expect somewhat of a delay.
Understand, no worries. I copy 2 minutes. Scattered by 5.
Well, it looks like we might be looking at a real long delay, but we'll take a look. Make sure I'm calling the station the right name. I always like that.
Emirates 29 Yankee Dubai Tower.
Emirates 29 Kilo, go, continue.
Emirates 29 Kilo, sorry. Stand Foxtrot 21, pushing start booth, facing west on Zulu.
Pushing west on Zulu, sorry for that, for Emirates 29 Kilo.
No worries.
Alright, so we'll call these guys up here in just a moment. Dubai Tower, Emirates 857, with information Bravo requesting IFR clearance to Kuwait International.
Emirates 857, Dubai Tower, hello. You're cleared to Kuwait via the Redap 2 Foxtrot departure. Climb maintain 4,000 feet, squawk 0567.
Emirates 857 is cleared to Kuwait International on the Redap 2 Foxtrot departure, and will climb and maintain 3,000 feet, squawk 0567, Emirates 857.
Emirates 857, lead back is correct. Confirmation Charlie current. QNH 1001, report ready for option start.
Alright, well, we're over on Charlie. We'll double check that, and QNH 1001, and we'll report ready to push and start Emirates 857. Alright, so we've got a little update. Okay, I guess it changed.
East
Although
Yankee, please
in the sim it's still the same.
Please.
And I fear that our V pilot's way too loud, so I'm going to adjust
Mike
that
1
for
for
you
you,
a little bit.
Alpha. Thank you very much. Lemonade, Yankee.
Wee. Deafening me. Okay. I turned that down a little bit. Hopefully that's better. Let me know if you're in the chat if that's better, because I'm deaf now. Okay. He told us we're gonna squawk 05 and 67. Yes, 0567. Wonderful. And we are going to set our MCP now. Our initial altitude is going to be 3,000. 3,000. Heading's going to be 299.
All stations departing the Hamad, you're gonna get some sort of delay here and there because I'm sorry, it's across the land. Too much traffic.
So let's check our init here again. Our V2 speed is 157. Wonderful. We'll set that on the MCP. 157. And we're going to take our LNAV. We'll arm that. Going to arm the Sorry. Let's not forget to turn our flight directors on. There we go. Flight directors, LNAV and VNAV are armed. Okay. Let's go ahead and add our barrel ref minimums. So here's a fun FMC trick. We did this one last week. If you go to the menu button, go to EFIS control, turn it on, go to EFIS, add 1,000. Voila! We have that set. Go back to menu, and then go back to EFIS to off. Go back to the FMC, and you are set on that point. So that looks good. Let's go ahead and we'll get our APU started. Alright, starting the APU. Excellent. Let's go ahead and we'll wait for the APU to start. Then we're going to go ahead and arm our hydraulics. There it is. Looking good. Do we have anyone in chat? It says we have some folks in here. Well, if not, so be it. And we're just going to wait to see that our APU is up and running.
I'm sorry, how much? It's gonna be 1567.
So if we check our status page, by the way, this is where you can also check your oxygen levels and your hydraulics, but I checked those before we were on. Okay, and you can hear that we've got the APU running now. Let's come over here and turn the AC unit off. And at this point, we're going to pressurize the hydraulics. We would let the ground crew know before we did that to make sure it's safe. If you recall, hydraulics, start with your right electric demand. C1, C2, left demand. C1 air, C2 air, and you have pressurized. Now, set our parking brake. So we're going to depress the brakes to full. Set the parking brake. That's set. We can set our trim now. It's going to be 5. There we go. Got it set to 5. That's good stuff.
Lemonade and Yankee, passing 3,000 feet to 4,000 feet.
Alright, and before we bring the push truck, let me just do a quick check here on our departure frequency if there is one.
Evening, Dubai approach, correction, Dubai control, it's Lemonade and 999 Yankee, passing 3,000 feet to 4,000 feet.
So the Dubai radar is on. He's got the wrong.
Yes,
he's still
it's Lemonade and 999 Yankee.
Lemonade, that's great. Identified, climb level 220, sir.
Climb flat about 220, thank you very much. Lemonade and 999 Yankee.
Guided by 842, the wind is 340 degrees 5 knots, runway 30 right, clear to land. At 8, Lima Mike, you are identified. Climb level 210 via the SID.
Okay.
Actually, at 8, Lima Mike, I've got a shortcut for you. Turn right to Canip.
Alright, and we can go ahead and get our primary external power disconnected. So let's come back here. We'll remove the chocks while we're at it. There we go. Great. Let's go ahead and get our checklist rolling here. Pre-flight oxygen is checked. Our heading is 2999 and our altimeter right now is at 1000. Parking brake is set. Fuel code switches are off. Pre-start flight deck door. It is closed, but we'll just lock it. Lock it. Okay, flight deck door is closed and locked. MCP, our V2 is at 157. Our heading track is 299. Our altitude is 3000. Takeoff speeds are 143, 149, 157. CDU pre-flight's complete. Trim is set to 5, and we have 0 and 0 units on the aileron trim and the rudder trim. Taxi and takeoff briefing, well, we're not 100% sure on that yet. And we'll go ahead and get our beacon light on, which is going to be our pushback info. Note, I've also turned the seatbelts to on. We can go ahead and get our fuel pumps on now as well. And we do not have any center fuel, so we don't need those. Okay, so before start checklist is complete.
Lemonade 227 facing west, push instead approved, QNH1001.
Alright, we're going to prepare for pushback and departure.
Qatari for Victor.
Qatari for Victor, go ahead.
Qatari for Victor, direct Delta Bravo 529, descend level 150.
Down to 150, Qatari for Victor.
And direct Delta Bravo 529.
So let's try again to see how we think we're going to taxi here. So I think we're going to go Kilo. They'll probably have us come across here.
Hello, Captain. We are ready for pushback.
Kilo, so this will be Zulu Hotel, Kilo, and then all the way down to Kilo 12. Alright, and we'll hold short runway 30 left.
10 to be level out of box, Giant 97. Departure checks completed. Bypass pin inserted.
Dubai Tower, Emirates 857, request push and start.
Emirates 857, push and start. Once clear of a company 777, just passing behind you right now, push and start approved facing west, QNH1001.
Push and start approved, facing west, 1001 on the QNH, Emirates 857, and we'll wait for the company 777. Alright, so we're going to face west. That's interesting. Okay.
Approved facing east, QNH1001.
Pushback approved basis 1001, prospect right 5.
Press 5 Juliet, I video 5, pass your message.
Emirates 5 Juliet on stand. Bravo 20 with information. Bravo requesting iPad to Hamad as filed.
Release parking brakes, please.
Okay, we're going to release our parking brakes. They're released.
Push. All engines clear. Start at will.
Alright, so we'll start our right engine first, engine 2, start, and fuel switch. And we can watch the progress of the engine start.
Juliet on stand. Bravo 20 with information. Bravo requesting iPad to Hamad as filed.
So all we're doing here
5 minutes, please.
is just making sure that the oil pressure is rising. We're getting N2, N1, and once the motoring has continued on, we should be getting fuel flow.
10,1001, Qatari for Victor.
And we'll just watch the progress here now. Remember,
Stand by all stations controller change.
we're having a controller change, okay.
Philippines 685, climbing to flight level 220.
Alright, and the engine's stable, so we'll start number 2. Here we go. Fuel. Looking good. sound of that engine. Okay, I'm gonna warn you now. I'm not a sound snob, so you're just gonna have to bear with me. If you are, more power to you. Ah, someone has dropped me a note. Lock-in does stuff. Hello, Lock-in does stuff. No, I'm not an airline pilot. I have, however, studied the 777 quite a lot. 777, 747 as well. And so I have been working on some videos for some basic tutorial pieces, but those take a lot of time, so we haven't progressed them real far, but here we are. All right. But thanks for dropping in. I hope you enjoy it. Ask any additional questions you might have. Alright, so it wants us to set the parking brakes. So I may have mentioned, I did this last time, was that I've got the parking brakes, or the tow brakes set to a...
all stations, do a radio check.
There we go. I've got it set to an access.
Roger. Eliminate the 227, Dubai Tower.
Good.
So we've got the parking brake set now, which is handy. And then...
all stations currently on the ground. Monitor your contact ground 108.35. He's gonna get on in any time now.
Okay. Alright, so we're having a little ground changeover now, as you might have heard. Well, let's finish our after start flow here. So on our after start flow, what you want to do is we're going to make sure, oh yeah, they want our confirmation of a good engine start. We'll just let them know that. There we go.
Ground. We have a good engine start. You can disconnect.
Unlocking gear.
So we're going to go ahead and get the APU off, right? Because the packs are on, the engine's running everything now. You can see that we've sort of, everything is dark. That's what you want to see. The generators, etc., are now all being driven by the engines, hydraulics, etc. And we are not quite ready for our taxi light because we're going to finish our other activities. So let's set our auto brake for RTO, which of course is for rejected takeoff. We'll do a quick check of the controls. Now, you know, it's a sim, so it's not exactly super advanced here, but here we go. Full forward. You'd come full back. You're going to come left. You're going to come right, and you're going to check the rudders. You're going to go right, left, etc. You're just checking that it's full free and correct, essentially. You can actually track where they are in here using the status displays, but for the most part, you don't need to. You can see it there on the status display, but they don't actually usually do that in the plane. Okay, let's come down. And we're just going to double check we have our squawk code correct, have our mics on. We have our frequency. I guess we're about to have a ground frequency here, but they're not on just yet. So I'm going to hold that for a moment. I'm going to hold any movement until we hear from them. But let's go ahead and finish our checklist. Alright, anti-ice is auto. We didn't check the recall. We'll just give it a quick recall check. You can see there. Notice on the ICAS, our one error came and went. The TCAS is off. That's correct. TCAS is off. We just have it on transponder right now. Auto brake is set to RTO. Flight controls are checked. Ground equipment is clear. And now, of course, since we're going to be taking off with flaps 5, we're going to move our flaps to flaps 5. So we've put them on flaps 5. And now you want to double check, of course, that it's actually doing what you asked it to do. Alright, and Dubai ground is on now on 118.350. Okay. Fine. Now we have ground on. Alright, so we're now at flaps 5. That's the correct position. Alright, and now we can go ahead and get ready for our taxi position. So in the taxi mode, I have a little shortcut for that. It puts on our taxi lights, runway turn off lights, and that's the gist.
Emirates 5
Okay.
Juliet radio 505.
Alright,
Emirates
let's
5 Juliet on stand, Bravo 20 with information, Bravo requesting IFA to Hamad as filed.
Okay, we're going to ask for our taxi instructions here in just a moment once the clearance request has been executed.
Confirm squawk 6251 Emirates 5 Juliet.
Emirates 5 Juliet A5.
Clear to Hamad via Nabi 3 Foxtrot departure initial climb 4000 feet squawk 6251 Emirates 5 Juliet.
US 2 kilo to by ground, good evening, we are holding short Lima. Lima 4.
Emirates 2 kilo taxi, continue taxi Lima 4 right Mike, waiting for Mike 1 clear.
Continue taxi on Lima 4, with Mike and Mike 13 Alpha, US 2 kilo.
My ground, hello, this is Qatar 7 Lima, standard for 5, request to land to Canada.
Frequency is mighty busy. We'll get in here in a moment, hopefully.
Your flight level is invalid for Doha. The maximum flight level will be flight level 260. Confirm your able flight level 260.
Confirm, we'll maintain flight level 260.
Standby. Click Qatari 7 Lima. Flight plan amended. Report ready to copy IFA.
I read it copy.
Qatari 7 Lima, cleared Doha, Navig 3 Foxtrot, land initially 4000, scope 0568.
Clear to our destination Doha, via Navig 3 Foxtrot, squawk 0560, Qatar 7
Lima, correct information. Disregard QNH 1001, report when ready.
1001, welcome Qatar 7
Good.
Skadba 812, continue taxi November 2, Papa 2, right Papa, to left Echo 41 to stand Quebec 2.
November 2, Papa 2, left Echo 4,
Emirates 5 Juliet ready for push and start.
Wow, this is going to be a tough frequency, I can see that. Our cabin's ready, that's good.
Push and start approved facing west on uniform Emirates 5 Juliet.
Okay, expect some cannon fire.
Push request taxi.
Who's calling for taxi?
Guided by 5.
Skadba 5, taxi Papa, right Papa 3, left November to holding point November 9 runway, correction November 9 runway 30 right.
Papa 3 November, hold point November runway 30 right. Let's get it up there.
Skadba 156, continue taxi Papa, right Papa 8, holding point November 9 runway 30 right.
I'm not sure if patience is helping us here or not. Oh my, this is really tough. I'm usually quick on this, but Dubai ground, Emirates 857 requesting taxi.
Emirates 857, taxi Zulu, right Lima 4, hold Lima 4 Alpha.
Taxi Zulu, Lima 4, and could you please repeat the additional instruction after Lima 4?
Emirates 857, taxi Zulu, Lima 4, hold Lima 4 Alpha. Red break Emirates 2 kilo, contact Dubai Tower 11.75.
At decimal 75, US 2 kilo, thank you, bye.
Okay. Alright.
Bravo Lima Hotel 227, standby polygon.
Well, I didn't really wait for our response, but that's fine. Emirates 857 will hold short Lima 4 Alpha.
Correct.
So there's Lima 4 Alpha. Okay. Okay.
All sessions, Dubai delivery is now online for clearance. Contact Dubai delivery on 120.357.
Wow, it's really heating up here. It's interesting. Got delivery, clearance, and tower now. I guess the overflow of the event is significant. Interesting. Very interesting.
Facing northern Juliet.
Face northbound Juliet, Singapore 4,
All right.
Blue Horizon 227. Continue taxi Zulu, right Juliet 3, holding point kilo 100
So we're just keeping our eyes out here for Lima.
.227 holding point kilo 11 runway 30 right.
Emirates 5 Juliet ready for taxi.
Emirates 5 Juliet taxi taxi uniform right Yankee hold Yankee Alpha.
Taxi uniform Yankee hold on Yankee Alpha Emirates 5 Juliet.
So one of the sorry, I got a little quiet there. One of the things that I very much enjoy about this plane is it's very well behaved on the ground.
Sky Dubai 156, contact Dubai Tower 118.3, correction 118.757.
So I highly recommend, you know, if you haven't, is if you're working on VATSIM, is just just get prepared. That's all. As long as you're prepared, it's going to go pretty well.
Sky Dubai 5, set scope 0571, please.
0571, Sky Dubai 5.
And Sky Dubai 5, confirm you got taxi clearance?
Always interesting though to see how this comes out some days.
Yeah, we got Papa Tree, November, holding point November.
Alright, so you see where we have Lima 4 now. It's telling us on the ground. That's convenient. We're just going to apply a little brake as we come into this turn. With the 777, you definitely want to oversteer a little bit. You need to come by the point because you're way up here in the in this system. You are way up high. And the plane is very long, and you are forward of the nose gear a fair ways. I forget exactly how many feet in this plane, but it's quite a lot. So if you want to sort of be in the cut, if you will, for this, you need to give yourself a little bit of leeway. Generally speaking, like if we had a quick look outside, well, maybe. Here, let's have a look. You can see we're basically on the line. So, you know, what does that tell you? Well, if that line's sort of coming through your seat, roughly, you're more or less taxiing in the right position. All right, and Lima 4 Alpha is coming up here. We're going to hold short there. So you can see off to our right is runway 30 left. So we just want to be mindful of that. I'm overturning here just a little bit. So I had this control set up a certain way, and it's just a little bit rough on you if you're not careful. Alright, so we're coming up here on our hold short spot. And we're going to bring it to a stop here. There we go. I've set the parking brake just for the moment. See, here we are, holding short. And we'll let the poor ground controller set up for us. But I think from here we're going to go. Mike to M1, yeah, probably Mike November. Yeah, to Mike November, I expect. We'll see. Let the ground controller talk to us. Oh, there's a nice takeoff. From 30 right. Dubai ground, Emirates 857, holding short, Lima 4 Alpha.
Emirates 857, hold Lima 4 Alpha.
Okay, we'll hold here.
Singapore 495 on Juliet, wait for next.
Singapore 495, call back for taxi, hold Juliet 1 Bravo.
So our controllers, it's just a little bit hard to hear for me. I don't want to turn it up too much, but I fear that I have to. Just a little tiny bit so I can hear a bit better. Set it to equal. Okay, there we go. Well, as long as we're waiting here, we can bring our drone camera in case I want to use that later. I'll just escape to default and resume. Okay, there we go. Option for the drone camera. Oh my, that's loud. Yeah, it's busy out here, alright. So one of the things that I like to do when I'm doing these flights sometimes is, if it's particularly busy, I might put a little knee board on my knee to take notes on. I find that very handy. Well, I feel like, I'm sorry.
Continue taxi Lima 4 right Mike, holding point Mike 13 Alpha.
Continue via Lima 4 to Mike and then Mike Alpha.
Emirates 857, holding point Mike 13 Alpha, runway 30 right.
Holding point Mike 13 Alpha for runway 03. Runway 30 right. Sorry about that. Okay. Mike 13 Alpha. Okay, so we're going to go Lima 4, Mike, and Mike 13 Alpha. And we're for our runway 0 right. So get that off. Lock and Does Stuff, your question is, what are my computer specs? That is a fine question. So I am running an AMD 7800 X3D, and I'm running a Gigabyte Gaming 4090 OC. It's not actually OC'd. And I have 32 gigabytes of RAM on here. I run everything off of, NVMe drives for speed purposes. I'm actually doing the sim and the streaming on the same computer, so I think it's handling it pretty well. Dubai is a big, complicated airport. There's a lot of traffic. Generally speaking, it's pretty easy to use, as you can see here. And the performance generally is pretty solid. Every once in a while, you might see a little stutter. That's just flight sim. But that's the basics. I keep all of it in a tower. I like the larger box, and I've got an extra chunky power supply in there to make sure that it can handle sort of anything and everything. I use a Leon Lee Galahad 360 AIO cooler to quote-unquote keep everything
thank God. Singapore 4905, taxi Juliet, right Zulu, left Lima 4, hold Lima 4 Alpha.
Okay, Juliet, Zulu, Lima 4, or Singapore 495.
And Singapore 495, make sure to hold at Lima 4 Alpha.
Hold Lima 4 Alpha, Singapore 495.
Dubai ground, Emirates 857. I'm sorry, were you buzzing me?
No, it's
Dubai traffic is holding position.
Sky Dubai 5, say again.
Dubai 5 is holding position. Can we continue taxi?
Negative hold position. We'll give you taxi instructions in the next 5 to 8 minutes.
Sky Dubai 5, roger.
That's weird. I got a note from
Emirates 355
ground,
roger.
Not sure what was happening there. Maybe I had an open mic. I might have screwed that up. That was odd. Try to keep an eye on that. Alright, so we're taxiing down to 13 Alpha. Okay, I got that now. Got it. It's all the way down a ways.
Europa 13, correction, Europa 31 Bravo, Dubai ground.
I must have had an open mic in there. So yeah, but that's the computer specs. I find that that's certainly gets the job done.
Morning, Emirates 35, radio check.
Emirates 335, radio 555. Emirates 857, contact by tower 118.75.
11875, Emirates 857. Okay, so we're over to tower.
Bravo contact ground now 118.350. Bye bye.
118-350, 31 Bravo, good day.
Dubai Tower, Emirates 857, taxiing to Mike 13 Alpha.
It's 857 Dubai Tower, hello, continue taxi Mike, holding point, Mike 13 Alpha, runway 30 right.
Alright, we'll continue to Mike 13 Alpha, holding point for runway 30 right, Emirates 857. Okay.
Emirates 27, very sorry for the delay, but it's just I have to get the clearance from Doha control for me to even move you, so it's gonna be a little bit more. Alright.
So you can see we had a lot of folks who thought they would fly to Doha today, which is part of the Cross the Land event, but they wanted to fly from here.
Yeah, they have, around
and they're all having to wait.
So. Yeah, let's see the future of some traffic.
They have a massive amount of arrivals going on there, as you can guess. Boy, is it hazy here in Dubai today. Yeah, visibility is not fantastic.
Sky Dubai 156, contact your area down now, 150.150, bye bye.
So I like to keep my taxi speed pretty reasonable. You don't want to be going too fast. I mean, obviously some folks, they're going to get up a little closer to 20. I tend to keep this big bird somewhere in that 10 to 15. Like this 13's good. Alright, so M13 Alpha, just so you know, there's an M1, if you're looking at your charts, if you have them handy, there is an M13, right, there's an M13, but, sorry, there's also an M13 Alpha, so just gotta make sure we have the right location. Let's not piss the people off. So you can see here, I believe we can see a plane holding down there already, off in the distance. I'm sure it's another behemoth, as they tend to be around here. Alright, so our next one here, golly, it's busy. We've got 30 left off to our right. Sure, it looks like we have a landing. We have one landing here.
Minute 227, I've got a fixed timing now. I can take you out in another 6 minutes.
Roger, thank you very much.
No worries. Emirates 150, welcome to Dubai, taxi right kilo, hold kilo kilo.
Okay.
Taxiing on the right, holding kilo kilo, Emirates 150.
Alright. Now we're passing 12. Let's see, that's check our next.
Just confirm your fuel is definitely enough to hold for this long, or should I force myself to do something?
We'll do our calculations. Stand by for a minute.
Yeah, please do.
Okay. So this is our first M13, just to our left here. So we're gonna go. Oops. You can see that the control's a little tiny bit sensitive. I think I'm gonna take that down a couple of notches here, but let's confirm what we're seeing before we progress. Alright. Yes, that's M13.
Correction, Emirates 150, contact ground now 108.350, bye bye.
Contacting ground, Emirates 150, thank you.
And then this next one is going to be us.
Emirates 227, we don't have enough fuel to land at the airport, so that's okay.
Emirates 227, thanks for the heads up. I'll take you after the Emirates to your left. I'll take you after, you should be fine.
Roger.
Emirates 857 via Mike 13 Alpha, the surface winds 340 degrees, 5 knots, runway 30 right, clear to take off.
Alright, Emirates 857 is cleared for takeoff for runway 30 right. Alright, so we're going to taxi on to 30 right here, as you can see.
Lemonade 227 behind the departing Emirates 777 via Mike 14 Alpha 9
Okay,
right
and
behind.
we'll set our takeoff settings, which gets our landing lights on, turns our TARA going, and gets us ready for action here. And now we're just going to roll ourselves onto the runway since we have been cleared. Just confirm everything's on. Yep, looking good. Strobes are on. Excellent. Now, once we get on the runway here, we're going to spool them up to about 55%, and then we're going to take off. That speed under control, get that turn nice, straight on. Okay. Yes, we have done the checklist, we're okay, don't worry. Well, we haven't actually done it, but we're fine. All it tells us is that we need to be in flaps 5, which I skipped. Alright, here we go.
Airspeed's alive.
Alright, we're stable. Toga, there we go, thrust draft is set. barreling down the runway now.
80 knots.
Cross-checked.
V1. Rotate.
Rotate. Nice and smooth. Bring her up to about 15 degrees. There we go. Got our positive rate of climb. Gears coming up. There we go. Keep her about 15. Now this is some real busy airspace, so you know normally we'd probably do here is we'd get the autopilot in pretty soon because we're going to be handed off here in any moment. So we're going to have a lot of busy comms going.
Emirates 857, contact your area now 132, that's 150, bye-bye.
132-150, Emirates 857. Thanks a lot for your help today. Okay.
No worries, bye-bye.
Okay. Alright, and gonna put the autopilot in. And let's go ahead. And we're gonna get our flaps up.
Qatari 2 X-ray, when ready, descend flight level 200.
When ready, descend flight level 200, Qatari 2 X-ray.
Emirates 29 kilo.
Alright, and we'll get on the frequency here in just a moment.
Emirates 29 kilo. AJ958, descend altitude 6,000.
6,000 AJ958.
Radar Emirates 857, 3,000.
Information Alpha, information Charlie, QNH 1001.
I stepped on it.
Blocked.
Virgin 5 Charlie 1 ready, descend to 10,000. ATIS information Charlie, QNH 1001. Virgin 5 Charlie.
Say again for Virgin 5 Charlie, sorry.
Descend to 10,000.
10,000 Virgin 5 Charlie.
Radar Emirates 857, 3,000.
Flighting 300, descend to 3,000.
Shit.
Flighting 300, descend to 3,000, Emirates 60 Lima.
AJ958, descend to 3,000.
Descend to 3,000.
Wow, it's tough. It's tough to get through on this one.
Emirates 857.
Radar Emirates 857, 3,000.
857, identified 3,000, climb flight level 380.
Climb flight level 380, Emirates 857.
Emirates 29 kilo.
Emirates 29 kilo.
Descend to flight level 20.
So Lock-in does stuff. You asked the question, why am I on VATSIM? Well, I mean, this is sort of the way to fly. You can, of course, use other options like beyond ATC. You could try something like say intentions.ai. I mean, there are a lot of options these days. You could even try to use the built-in option in Microsoft Flight Simulator. I don't recommend that, but you know, this is sort of your most quote-unquote realistic that you're going to get by doing this, and it's a busy day. Maybe that reflects some real-world air traffic in that sense, so that's why I like doing it. I don't always do it, mind you, particularly if I'm busy or I have other things going on where I want to step away from the computer. Alright, let's do my after takeoff checklist. We're just going to sorry, we were done with this. We're just going to override that item, and we're good here, and our after takeoff checklist is complete because our flaps are up, etc. Alright, and I'm going to activate my after takeoff setting here, and what that does is it creates a situation where my landing lights are off, seatbelts are set to auto, beacon nav and strobe lights stay on, but all the taxi lights, landing lights, those are all off. and we're looking pretty good. We've been cleared to our cruise altitude of 380, so we're climbing. As you know, the 777 is an excellent climber with that much power, and we can go and take a look here in VNAV. It's in the climb phase. What it's targeting as its econ speed, it's the econ climb speed. Our transition altitude is going to be 13,000, so around there it should ask us to switch from our QNH over to standard. Checking our legs, all of those look good. This is a short flight.
60 Lima,
so,
turn left heading 180.
We'll see what happens.
Left heading 180 and 60.
But man, it's busy. That's why I'm on VETSIN. For better or for worse. Seemingly sometimes for worse. Alright, let's check. I'm going to make sure our heading's bugged up.
Singapore 495, heavy low climb flight, radar identified.
There we go. Got that.
600, climb flight level 250.
And you can see in our modes here, we have thrust ref set, LNAV, and VNAV. And the thrust ref is reflecting that we are moving to the speed for our econ climb above 10,000. And when we get there, it should switch to speed.
Emirates 932 low, identified about 300, thank you. And Emirates 29 kilo gone.
Oh, actually, that's wrong. We'll stay on thrust rest because we're still in the climb mode.
121 decimal 1, it's 29 kilo, bye bye, take.
Qatari 2 X-ray contact Doha radar 121.1, that would flight behind.
Thanks, Doha radar 1211, Qatari 2 X-ray, have a good night.
So
Emirates 60 Lima, right 10270, cleared out of 30 low.
So I'm looking to head to our what might be our next controller frequency, if I can get it sorted here. Looks like it might be 127.5 to 127.575.
Emirates 7 kilo descend to
27575. Yeah. Okay. We'll see. That's Bahrain radar. Oh, that might be right though. Oh, we'll see.
Emirates 932 cleared to Dubai with the Buteb G3 Charlie arrival landing on the 30.
So one of the challenges here is you need to be paying close attention to your call sign because there's a lot of Emirates in this region right now.
Emirates 932 cleared to Dubai, Buteb 3 Charlie arrival landing on the 30 left.
Second arrival for Emirates and switching.
Buteb 3 Charlie arrival landing runway 30 left 86 Charlie.
30 left, yeah, they will tap 3 Charlie.
Alright, we're going to go over to standard now.
Got clear for this stop.
AGN 958, turn right heading 270, cleared Atlas runway 30 left.
Alright, so we're not at top of climb yet, but I'm already thinking about what's going to happen when we get there and how we're going to be preparing for our descent. It's not a terribly long flight, so just keep that in mind.
Singapore 495 heavy, sorry, Singapore 4595, climb flight level 370.
Flight level 370, Singapore 4995.
Emirates 7 kilo descent to 7,000.
Looking good out here. Wow. Got to appreciate it. I'm just going to bring that desktop audio down just a little tiny bit. It's not too loud in your ears. Alright, well, I'm predicting our next frequency. It could be wrong, so I'm just...
Emirates 60 Lima, contact tower 118.75.
Just going to leave it where it is. So you might be wondering, why is it daylight when it's not daylight there, I did move the clock back just so we'd have something to look out at the window. I am using live weather, however, so weather's going to be the same.
Origin 5 Charlie, descend to 7,000.
Speaking of weather, why don't we have a look at what our EFB is saying we should expect when we get into
6 Lima airspace, Muscat
Kuwait.
offline, no further ATC is available, change to advisory frequency, have a good flight bird.
Three five zero at 13, Cav OK, a whopping 38. Oh my goodness, QNH 1001. Okay.
Quad 6 Lima airspace, radar services terminate, bye bye.
Bye, Quad 6.
So you could, for example.
056, hello, identified at 3,000, climb 6,000.
6,000, best 1956.
Alright, we can import the aircraft details, we can import the weather. Yeah, we got plenty of room to land.
958, contact tower 118.75.
Okay. Double checking, everything looks good up here.
Whiskey 28 Charlie, descend to 3,000, right turn 280, cleared out of material off.
Is that a 3,000, right heading 280, good ALS 3, and blue sky 28,000.
Oops. There we go. Sorry for that. So I'm having a look here on VATSIM radar. Always interesting. As you can see, it's mighty busy out here. There's no question about that. It's very busy. Just look at all these planes coming into Doha right now. Wow. But I think we're going to be running right along this track here, which I think is, I sure hope is Bahrain radar. Or it could be Doha control.
9056, climb flight over 250.
Yeah, looks like we might go into Doha control. 135725. So I'm going to prep that. 135725 for my next frequency. Alright, so let's have a quick look at our SID. I'm sorry, our star. So we're coming into Depty, and that's going to take, we're going to be above 3,000. It's going to take us right in here to pedal, I guess. Transition level is 150. And you can see from Depty 3 Charlie, you come in on 302. You're descending to 2,500 to establish yourself on the ILS.
Looks like it's still too high. Descend to 3,000.
I think that's manageable. We'll check our legs. Want to do that? Yep. Depty to pedal. There it is. Ginby, and then on our final. So not a lot going on with this one.
UEA radar, Qatari 1034 with you climbing to flight level 190.
Day 1034 low, climb flight level 190.
Climb flight level 190, Qatari 1034.
Good evening, you guys got it by 5, 3,200 for 4,000.
Scout by 5 low, climb flight level 220.
Flight level 220, got by 5.
Alright, and we are coming up nicely on our climb. On our climb here. One thing you might notice here is the way our clock works. Notice it has our elapsed time right here. That does that automatically. Some of the other clocks are analog. They'd appear over here. You turn it on yourself.
Send down to 3,000.
It's handy dandy this way. I like it. Let's bug up here. Make sure we're in the right spot.
Sky 8 Charlie Sierra, runway 31 left, clear to land. Surface winds are 360 degrees, 7 off.
And I like to put my progress going over here on my right hand CDU. So our next point's Gotki, it's 4 miles, estimated time, estimated fuel, etc. Still showing us comfortably at Kuwait with 11.8 in reserve. Plenty for a go around if we need it. Hopefully we won't. Little wing view.
Skydiver 156, descend at flight over 200.
Oh, I can actually hear. That's nice.
Skydiver 156. Qatari 1034, you cleared Dubai with the Pluto 3 Charlie, arrival landing on with 3 July.
Would you repeat that please, radar? Qatari 1034.
Cleared to Dubai via the Pluto 3 Charlie, arrival landing on with 3 July.
Cleared to Dubai for the VT 3 Charlie, arrival for 30 left, Qatar 034.
Virgin 5 Charlie, descend to 3000.
You notice here our box is turned white. It's telling us we're coming up here. I'm sorry, up here. Our box is turned white. It's telling us coming up on 380. And it's going to capture.
Skydiver 156.
There we go. Now we have speed. And we've captured VNAV path. Always pay attention to your FMA. Make sure you know what it's doing.
Emirates 857, contact Bahrain radar 127.52. Good day.
127.52. Emirates 857. 127.52. Alright, 127.52. That's going to be the Bahrain radar, I guess. Okay. Bahrain radar, Emirates 857, flight level 380.
Emirates 857, Bahrain identified.
Traffic on, and we'll get our weather on. There's not a lot of weather out here. As you can see. It's looking pretty nice out here. Alright, so we did not get a handoff to the Doha.
Qatar 6 Delta, contact Bahrain, correction Doha 135725, bye bye.
So I think what they've done is sort of bypassed us.
Qatari 37 Papa, contact Doha Control 135725,
and
bye bye.
They're going to take us straight through.
Qatari 625, correction 652 Yankee, descend flight level 250.
Okay. Bahrain radar should be taking us straight through to Kuwait Center.
Qatari 68 Bahrain identified.
125. 300. So just so you know, I'm controlling the radios with a separate controller, and you can see if we look down here, I've set what I think is going to be my next frequency, which is 125.300.
Bahrain radar, good evening, Qatari 86 Foxtrot, sending flight level 290.
Qatari 86 Foxtrot,
So Bahrain radar should take us, I don't know why I keep doing that too, my apologies. Having a little zoom issue. Should take us to, let's see, about what point would I expect the cutover?
Qatari 65 Kilo, descend flight level 210, contact Doha 135725.
Doha 135725
Yes.
and descending.
So it looks like the crossover point is Kumbo.
Qatari 652 Yankey, descend flight
So you
level
can see here, here's
250.
Kuwait, Here's Bahrain. There's Kumbo. My guess is we'll get a little earlier, somewhere around Solemn, or maybe even Ornak. You can see it will be right on the
2653
edge
Yankee,
here. But
contact Doha 135725. Bye bye.
so let's talk about where we might park. Let's have a look here. I am not that familiar with the parking area, so my guess is we're going to be looking Terminal 1 or Terminal 5. We can check on the parking
Cat
areas.
467, descend flight level 190.
So 22, 24, those look like big.
And 467 on conversion, speed 280 knots.
As do 2, 3, 4, and 5. So somewhere right here along Terminal 1 looks very promising for 777. That's what I would guess. If I looked in the real world flight, maybe it will tell me what gate they used. Possibly. Sometimes you can't get that information, but I'll take a quick look. Let's see here if I can pull it up. I'll go to FlightAware, because this is a real world flight that we are doing here. So that's EK857. Okay, and it came into gate 26. That's this one right here. So I guess we can go to gate 26 if we are landing on 33 right. We can come up here, probably exit about Echo 4 or Echo 5, and then we'll get taxi to 26, which will be right here. Okay, I think we can make that work. Let's go back and have a look again at that parking stand so I can see what it says. I'll pin that in case I want to come back to it. Airport minimums, takeoffs, hotspots. Well, okay, we'll take that. Good enough. Alright, where are we now, you might be asking? We are right over here. Cruising along nicely. There are a lot of waypoints on these airways. Sort of interesting. I think we had 8 pages on the legs page. Down to 6 now. Alright, well let's get the the Navigraph out of the way so you can see if there was anything interesting to look at outside. Not bad. Not bad at all. I hate that chirp. I could totally live without that chirp. Any day. Sorry. Alright.
Catani 70 Whiskey when ready, descend flight level 190. And on conversion speed 280 knots.
190 on conversion 280 descent for Whiskey.
Speed 280 confirm.
Firm 280 descent for Whiskey.
Thank you. Catani 68, descend flight level 210 on conversion speed 270.
210 speed 270, Catani 68.
Catani 86 Foxtrot when ready, descend flight level 210 on conversion speed 270.
So we look down here on Navram, we got our ILS for 110.5 and course of 332, and we'll just confirm that that's correct on our sheet. There it is, 1105, 332. So there you go. And our altitude here is going to be down at 2,000. Interesting, our go around is only 2,400 initially, and then we'll go up to 5,000. So, well, we'll put 5,000 on the MCP. Speaking of the MCP, we can have a quick look here. So as you can see, we've got auto throttle engaged. The auto throttle arming system is on.
Catani 467, many thanks for the descent. Contact Doha 135725. Right.
Autopilot's on. Obviously LNAV and VNAV are running. We've got our heading in here, and we're not bugged up. Let's bug that up.
70 Whiskey, Captain. I need to descend now, please. Now, flight level
Mind you,
190.
that heading, we're not actually using that heading in
190
terms of controlling it. The
Thank you.
lateral navigation is controlling the plane. But if we needed to, we could go to heading select and it'd be right on our current path. Our altitude set to 38,000. Obviously, the autopilot's on. So we have our flight directors on as well. The box is closed here on the speed because it's being controlled by the VNAV system, the flight management computer, based on the information, of course, that we have in the VNAV page, and it's Econ Cruise. So the Econ Cruise speed's 0.829, and our speed as well is 0.830, but it's essentially the same.
Qatari 70 Whiskey, call Doha Control now, 135725. Bye-bye.
13575 Qatari 70 Whiskey, goodbye.
So there's a possibility that we won't be getting top down from Kuwait Center, but we'll see. We'll see. It is showing, no, it's not actually. Yeah, it's not showing any local ATIS. That makes me think that we won't be. But again, we'll leave that on the to be determined. But, I mean, there's a real march of planes coming in here. I mean, look at this. All on their way down here to Doha, and you can see it's bringing them around. It is busy. Busy at Doha. And
Bahrain,
just
good afternoon, Qatari 86 Lima, descent flight level 290 with you.
Qatari 86 Lima, Bahrain, ILO identified. Confirm maintaining Mach 87?
you can see we've just got behemoth after behemoth after behemoth flying as well.
Well. Now, but we'll go to Mach 87 right now.
Not that we aren't
okay,
in the 777-300, but just an observation.
280.
Got to keep that separation with all these heavies. It's interesting. If you look over here, we can see some random other planes coming in.
Qatari 68, contact Doha Control 135725. Bye-bye.
You can see he's passing them along to Doha Control. Interestingly, I felt like we were in Doha Control area, but oh no, maybe not. No, I'm wrong. See how I highlight that and we get Bahrain radar? So the Doha Control is just covering this cross section here. Although interestingly, it crosses over with both of them.
Jordan 654, descend now, flight level 320. Qatari 86 Foxtrot, contact Doha Control 135725. Bye-bye.
135.725, thanks. Qatari 86 Foxtrot.
Qatari 725.
Qatari 72 Bravo, Bahrain, hello identified. Landing 30 right. Descend now 1,500 feet. The Bahrain QNH.
Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. I've been blasting V-Pilot at you. I'm sorry, I just tuned that down. My apologies. My goodness. Oy. That was my fault. Hope I didn't scare you all off.
Right, 330, Qatari 75.
Bahrain radar, Lufthansa 256, descending flight level 290.
Lufthansa 256, Bahrain, hello, turn left, heading 090.
Looks like we have it double here, so I'm actually going to just turn that one off. There we go.
Jordan 654, descend,
okay.
flight level 190.
It's better, I think. That's a nice day out here. My goodness. Oof. So we have Qatar off to our left here. If we sort of craned our necks way back this way, we'd be near Doha. And then if we look out past Qatar to the next island landmass here, you can see that's Bahrain.
Okay, that's fine.
And then just on the other side of Bahrain, back here, Saudi Arabia. And then off to our right, goodness, there's a lot going on out here. Off to our right is Iran. Iran's off this way. So we're just here in the Gulf area.
Lufthansa 256, turn right heading 170 degrees.
Turn right heading 170, Lufthansa 206.
Cat 37 to Bravo. If you want to get down as quick as possible, give me your best rate of descent.
Yeah, we're going down to 4,000 feet per minute.
Ah.
Bahrain Center, hello, speed at 843, heavy descending through flight level 300 for 290, mark decimal 310 knots.
Speed 843, Bahrain identified. Break Qatar 86 Lima on conversion, speed 280 knots or greater.
280 knots or greater, Qatar 86 Lima.
Jordanian 654.
Just listen to the traffic, it's busy. Goodness gracious. So as you can see, our controller's trying to get everyone moving downwards, get them in the right position.
654, Roger, maintain Mach 8 for best speed, please. Cat 37 to Bravo, turn left heading 300 degrees.
Left 300, Qatar stand 2 Bravo.
So, oops. So if I bring this back over, you can see I think the tail end of the mass is starting to get there. You get these folks going. There's a couple more, but I think it's starting to thin out. Here's a couple of random folks.
Lufthansa 256, descend flight level 190 to be level at Riquet.
That's still a lot of planes.
190 to level at Riquet.
A lot of planes coming.
Direct to Riquet? No, 206.
Yes, correct, direct Riquet, my bad.
Still got folks who are trying to squeeze themselves in here, I guess.
Mach 0.72, is that still?
Maintain Mach 2, yeah, just trying again. Maintain speed 280 on conversion.
So, here we are, just cruising along, causing trouble. Oh, that's funny.
Reducing that to 270 for speed at 843.
Radar, hello, Qatar 44 heavy, descending flight level 317, 49.
So interestingly, I'm running the Microsoft Flight Simulator actually on my secondary display, which is a 1980 by 1920 by 1080 display, and my primary display is a 38 inches. It's bigger, but I figure this is easier on the stream. So it's a little bit of an uncomfortable position, unfortunately, in terms of how I'm looking at the screen. But those are the brakes.
Left 210, Qatar 72 Bravo.
Speed 843, descend flight level 190, level at Riquet.
Descend flight level 190, level at Riquet, speed at 843.
Qatari 44, Bahrain.
344.
Qatari 44, Bahrain identified. On conversion, speed 270 knots.
270 on conversion, 344.
Qatari 72, Bravo, further left, heading 120 degrees.
Descending down, or flight level 310.
Qatari 50 uniform identified. Break Qatari 72, Bravo, left turn, heading 120 degrees. Captain, left turn, 120, please.
120, Qatari 72 Bravo.
Thank you. Qatar 86 Lima, contact bar Doha 135725.
So,
135725.
what these events remind you is that you really got to be heads up, listening for your call sign.
190 level Riquet.
190 level Riquet, 344.
So those in chat, let me know if you're here. But we are, as you can see, flying to Kuwait right now. We are flying sort of opposite some event traffic for across the land heading into Doha, so that's a lot of what you're hearing. I did not take a Doha spot or anything like that. That's poor form, so definitely don't do that. I hadn't realized cross the land was today. I must have been asleep at the wheel, I guess. So, all right. Oops, my bad. So there we are.
Pakistan 288. Identified. Climb flight level 350.
So in terms of what we're looking at out the window here, well, I actually haven't seen a lot of this event traffic, although it's here. We're just flying along in the Gulf right now as we're heading from Dubai to Kuwait, and as you can hear, the our center frequency here, which is Bahrain, they are mighty busy here on Bahrain radar. It's rough. Our next radar is going to be Kuwait Center, and that should be our last one before we land. So we'll see what happens there. All right, let's start setting up now. So we're going to go to our, I don't know why this is still showing, but okay, our descent checklist. We'll do a recall. So, I mean, shouldn't be anything of consequence here. Nope, nothing on the recall.
Right, 210, Charlie 72 Bravo.
And we'll have our we've already done checked our notes for this landing. We're going to go, I'm going to go auto brakes 3. And our landing data, we haven't done that yet. We're a little early, but I'm just going to put it in here. I like flaps 30, some like 25. You do it your way, whatever you like. Approach briefing, we've already discussed that, but just quickly, we are on the, here, I'll bring this up so you can see. We are on the Deb 3 Charlie. Deb D, right here, Deb D 3 Charlie. You come in there above 3,000, you then head on down to Petal, where you're going to come in at 3,000 feet. And then we're going to be on the ILS Yankee for runway 33 right, and we're going to come down to Jinbi, and then our final approach fix is at 2,000 feet, and it's a 3-degree glide slope. Nothing special here. Runway down at 204 feet, and our if we go missed, we're going to go ahead. Just straight ahead to 2400, then we'll turn right up to 5000 on a 135 heading until we intercept the radial 090 to Kua and then to Luda. Sorry, that was not the world's best descriptor. All right, so we do mark that. Okay, I don't know why this keeps coming back up. Here we go. Our approach for our altimeters, we'll check that.
Okay, continue direct Cobalt. Correction, Lufthansa 256, Doha control 135725. Bye-bye.
Doha control 135725. Lufthansa 256.
Check this again. 350 at 11, Cav OK 1001. All right, so we can get that set in ahead of time.
3190 descend now, flight level 280.
1001.
Speed at 243.
Okay, 1001.
135725. Bye bye.
Doha 135.
Okay, and we can go ahead and set our minimums. Let's have a look at our minimums. Our minimums, all categories, so that's us, going to be 405. So we can set that over here.
Jordan at 654, turn right heading 300 degrees. Qatari 44, contact Doha control 135725. Bye bye.
3575, 34, bye bye.
Okay, and now we're set up for that, so that's very nice.
Hotel Bahrain identified.
All right, so the approach checklist, and then we'll have our landing checklist.
Qatari 538, descend flight level 250.
Descend level 250, Qatari 58.
Well, let's check our progress to top of descent. We have another 78 nautical miles to go. You can see that over here. So, just a few minutes.
Who was calling? I need the call sign. If I ask who is it, who?
Emirates 27 Delta.
Okay, thank you. You're identified. Climb flight level 280.
280. Emirates 27 Delta.
Qatari 72 Bravo, the wind Bahrain 07 degrees 4 knots, 30 right, clear to land.
Clear to land, 30 right, Qatari 72 Bravo.
Walker 31909er, descend, flight level 250 and cancel the Mach restriction.
Okay, free speed and flight level 250, 131
Radar, good evening, Lufthansa 905 Whiskey, flight level 290, inbound Dexter.
905 Whiskey Yellow identified. Walker 31909er, our conversion speed 300 or greater.
All right. Well, we can see we have some traffic
661, reduce
down here.
Now, 260 knots.
Yep, there they are.
8661.
Sure who that is. They're way down below us. You can see we have some contrails for some other traffic heading to Doha, probably.
Emirates 27 Delta, direct Egmore, Echo Golf, Mike Oscar Romeo.
Direct Egmore, Emirates 27 Delta.
Qatari 50 uniform, reduce speed 230, contact Doha 135725.
So it looks like that other plane is had just left Doha, headed to Kennedy, so going all the way to JFK, and they're climbing now.
53, reduce speed 230 knots.
230 knots, Qatari 538.
Walker 31909er, descend 250 to be levelish at Riquet.
Levelish at flight level 250,
American 251, contact Bahrain 127575. Bye bye. Confirm 127575.
1275.
Correct, break, KLM 427, direct Tomzo.
Direct Tomzo, KLM 47.
Pakistan 288, Unicom 1228, bye bye.
Unicom Pakistan 288, thank you.
Qatari 8661, descent flight level 260, reduce speed 230 knots.
Descent flight level 260, speed 230,
Qatari 88 Hotel, descent.
So I think we might get a transfer to another Bahrain radar frequency.
Descent level 280 and for conversion with speed to 280 knots, Qatari 88.
Qatari 538, contact Doha Control 135725. Bye bye.
135725, Qatari 538, thanks.
Jordanian 654, turn right, heading 360 degrees. Emirates 857, contact Bahrain 127575. Bye bye.
127575, Emirates 587. Okay, so we did get that handover. So we'll hand that over. I've already tuned the frequency because when I saw the American went, I tuned this over. Bahrain control, Emirates 857, flight level 380.
Emirates 857, Bahrain radar identified, flight level 380, direct Ornac.
Direct Ornac, Emirates 857. Alright, so we've got a direct now to Ornac, so let's have a look at that. Let's find where it is. There's Ornac. It's not that far, it's just the next one up. So I just line select that, execute. Now we're direct Ornac. Pretty minor. Pretty minor. Overall, just a slight change. So it's Bahrain radar, not control. My fault.
Qatari 311, decent now, flight level 350.
So basically, we're just going to skim along the coast of Saudi Arabia here, probably just off of their territorial waters. And then our next one will be the Kuwait Center, I believe. 1253.
Qatari 401, Bahrain radar.
1253. Okay, there we are.
Qatari 69, contact Bahrain 127525.
So as you can see, we're cruising along quite nicely here.
1755 Qatari 69, bye bye.
with the airspace this busy, they're working hard. No question there. As I say, I think the
Qatari 401, you with me?
well, there's still. I'm looking here. There's still quite a few planes coming in.
Bahrain Center, that's
For
7 with you, 330.
Delta 67 Bahrain radar contact, flight level 330. Qatari 311, continue descent, flight level 310.
Continue descent 310, Qatari 311.
So, if there's anyone in chat, please let me know. Please say hi. Let's take a look here. So we have about 30 miles to top of descent, roughly. And there's not much left in this flight in terms of total time. We descend in before we know it.
401, I've been calling you. Are you readable?
So when we get up to our descent point, I might need to ask for descent, which we'll do. So that's going to be right at Ornac. They might have been planning that. We'll see.
Approach and runway can we expect?
Let me just double check that weather again. 350. Okay. So it's going to be pretty much right off our nose coming in on runway 33, right?
Qatari 45 Yankee, contact Bahrain 127525.
Contact Bahrain 127525 by Qatar 450 Yankee. Have a good
Bahrain,
night.
hello, Qatar 85, Qatar 8055, Mach decimal edge 20, flight level 350.
Okay, please watch the frequency before transmitting. Radar contact, flight level 350, maintain Mach decimal 80.
Emitting in Mach decimal 80, Qatar 8055.
Is my Volanta profile private? No, I don't think so. Thank you for the question. I don't think it is. I think you can find me on there. People have. I'm IAD bound. No great mysteries here. And welcome, by the way. Thank you. So, I don't take a lot of friend requests necessarily, but I'm on there somewhere.
Yeah, I can read you now. Decent flight level 3, correction 290 level Delta.
Honestly, half the time I don't use Volanta. It's not my favorite, but it does have the streaming profile, so there you go.
Come again,
So Volanta is bugging then. Well, that could be. I wouldn't put it past me. Oh, yeah, because it says the network's Volanta, but... Oh, clicking it says unavailable. Huh. Well, news to me. I'm sorry. No. I admit I rarely test that. All right, so as you can see, my FMC message is coming on. It's telling me it wants to... It's going to tell me, as we'll see, that it wants to reset the MCP altitude, of course, because we're coming up on top of descent. So I'll request that in just a moment.
Qatari 401, expedite descending, flight level 290 now, descend now, flight level 290.
290 expedite for 01.
Qatari 48 Yankee, what's your level 270?
48 Yankee, flight level 370, radar contact, say your speed.
Mach decimal 8 flight, Qatari 14.
Roger, maintain Mach decimal 82, sir.
Mach decimal 82, Qatari 418.
Delta 67, continue.
Well, it's going to be tough to get a word in edgewise, I can tell that. We'll give it a shot.
Qatari 8055, Mach decimal 82 for you, decent flight level.
It's been this way the whole flight, but that's how it goes. It's kind of fun that there's a lot of traffic out here, but it also makes it challenging sometimes.
8055, decent flight level 330, Mach decimal 82.
Mach decimal 82 and ascending to flight level 330, Qatari 8055.
Thank you. Qatari 311, Bahrain radar 127525.
1275 to Qatar 311.
Bahrain radar, Emirates 857, request descent.
Emirates 857, when ready, descend flight level 240, level combo.
Descend flight level 240, level combo, Emirates 857. Okay, so here we go. So he gave us 240, and he wants us down there at combo. Okay, that's going to be the point where he's probably going to hand us off to our next controller. Yeah, you hate when you're close to your top descent and others are talking. Yeah, it happens. But, you know, these planes are very competent. They're used to being held high in the real world. It all works out. He wants us at 240 at combo. All right, so let's just put that in the box. So how can we do that? Well, you can come down here. It's got a speed it wants to be at. So we could say 262 and 240 at Kumbu. And now I have that in there. So we're just keeping up with his requests. But around that point, we'll be handed off to our friends at Kuwait Center. And you can see our engines are in the hold mode now.
Delta 67, continue descent.
Just watch that FMA. Always good to check that. Make sure you know what's happening.
Qatari 401, contact Bahrain Central 127 525. Bye bye.
127 525, Qatari 401. Bye.
I should do Middle East, Europe, North America. Yeah, I don't have that much time to. But I'm with you. I don't think I've done that before, actually. I've certainly done Europe to North America. I've done Istanbul to Atlanta. That's probably one of my longer ones. Done some Pacific flights. But I haven't done a multi-leg Middle East, Europe, North America. In real life, I've done a Bangkok to Paris to Washington. Actually, it's even further. It's Bali to Bangkok to Paris to Washington, pretty much nonstop. So, I've done some crazy distances. Istanbul to JFK, that's a good one. I like that Istanbul airport. Nice place to fly out of. In the sim, anyway. I haven't done it in real life. Frankly, to fly a 777, if you want to fly the 777-300ER to get some of these real world routes that aren't terribly long, you really got to pick some of the Middle Eastern options or some flights out of Turkey. Last week we did Istanbul to Athens because there just aren't a lot of short ones. Obviously, we could do a fictional one, or we could do one where we're subbing a 300ER for a 200 ER. Which there's a good number, for example, in the continental United States. Your longest route was Manchester, Islamabad. Okay. For PIA got banned from Europe. You've flown Dubai, Pakistan, IRL. Oh, okay. I'm going to guess that you're probably located somewhere in the region then.
Bahrain, good evening, Indonesia 7471, flight level 70, Mach decimal 83.
Indonesia 7471, Bahrain radar contact flight level 370. Qatari 8055, descent flight level 290.
Well, and our descent's going nicely now. So we're just keeping an eye on where we are.
Qatari 8055, descent flight level 290.
At some point, we might need to touch a speed brake, but right now it's looking like it's going to meet its target.
Qatari 8005, descent flight level 290.
Oh, you live in England. Okay, well, sorry about that. Oh, family in Pakistan. Got it.
Yeah, sure.
Qatari 48 Yankee, descent flight level.
Got to connect to the Middle East. Oh, no doubt.
Sending flight level 230, Qatari 48 Yankee.
Yeah, I've not been in any of the Middle East locations. All right. I like the look of our descent.
7, reduce Mach decibel.
And we should be getting a handover here to Kuwait radar here any moment.
Okay, Indonesia 7471 due to traffic congestion at Hamad. Reducing speed now. Reduce Mach decimal 80.
In other words, Doha's jam. Please slow down. So when you connect to the Middle East, got a preference? Do you like Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Doha? Any particular preferences in terms of the airports or carriers?
Qatari 8055, continue descent flight level 290 on Mach decimal 79.
Continue descent flight level 290 with decimal 79, Qatari 800.
So checking again.
Yeah, Delta
Dubai, got it. Emirates, okay.
Speed to 79, Mach decimal 79.
I want to do a premium cabin in Emirates. That's one of the things I'd like to do with reward flight at some point.
Delta 67.
But we'll see.
67, reduce speed Mach decimal 79. Contact Bahrain on 127525.
Yeah, the A380s, they look great. Oh, from Manchester. Okay, got it.
127.525, thanks, see ya.
I've been on the A380, not Emirates, but I've been on the A380. It's a great plane. I love it, how quiet it is. It's one of my favorites.
51, contact Kuwait 125.3, bye-bye.
That was not me, but it's going to be me in a second here for the Kuwait handover. Oh, we got an alpaca on.
Alpaca 62 Echo, radar contact 57370, so reduce to Mach
Yeah,
decimal
I need to do an A350 flight. That's one I'm missing.
Emirates 857, further descent with Kuwait 125.3, bye-bye.
125.3, Emirates 857, and we'll continue descent. Thanks again.
You're welcome. Break Emirates 27 Delta, when ready, descent flight
All right, we're going to set this 3,000, and we're going to switch. All right, let's get to let's see what's going on Kuwait Center.
Radar, good evening. Qatari 61 Golf inbound, seat at level 370.
Qatari 61 Golf, hello, maintain flight level 370.
Maintain level 370, 61 Golf.
Yeah, it's a shame about the A380, but that's the way it goes on these things.
Qatari 34 Charlie, contact Bahrain 127.575. Have a good flight. Bye-bye.
Wow, busy on here. Okay, here we go. Kuwait Control, Emirates 857, flight level 248, descending 3,000.
Emirates 857, I'm not offering top down, so you can continue in Unicom 122.8. Have a nice landing. Bye-bye.
All right, well, we'll go to 122.8. I know you got your hands full. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, well, no top down. Interesting. All right, Unicom it is. It's the infamous Unicom. Here we go. Unicom. All right, we're just going to descend now. Yeah, on the AnyBuilds A350, I'm looking forward to it. I've been fortunate to meet a bunch of the guys from AnyBuilds over the past couple of years. Great team, interesting group, just a lot going on there. I'm very excited about the A350. I think that they're trying to make this into what is really a next level product for them. Taking it well beyond what they've done with the A300, for example, which again, the A300 is a great, fun plane to fly, and I like what they've done with it. But the A350, is of course a whole nother ball of wax in terms of system capabilities and complications, and nobody has really brought an A350 or an A380 of any high fidelity, standard at all, whether in any sim. Yes, there's the Flight Factor A350, which some of the systems told us to help them with, and yes, they are doing an update on it, but goodness, they got a long, that plane is a mess, relatively speaking, and it's been available for several years, and they haven't done squat. So I'm hoping Any Builds knocks it out of the park. And I know from the talks I've had with folks there, they're very excited internally. So fingers crossed. Yeah. I think there are some challenges certainly in the sim in terms of things that the A350 can do and whether or not you can make it work in the sim. I guess one advantage, or at least I hope it's an advantage that Any Builds has, is that with the number of projects that they've partnered with for Asobo directly and Microsoft in terms of planes that they put into the sim, I'm hoping that they have been working to make sure that the things they need are in there. And the one question I think will be, there's a couple of questions, but one of the big ones is, will it be a Microsoft 2024 product or a 2020 product or both? I think we can pretty much guarantee it'll be a 2024 product some way or another, but will it also be a Microsoft 2020 product? Don't know. Those are all big questions, I think, that come with what they've got, in terms of their project. So we'll see what happens. Since it's just me, I'm going to set us down to our final fix altitude as well, to 2,000, and we are high, so I'm actually going to increase our rate of descent a little bit. So let's open the box and let's bring up our rate of descent. I'm going to take us to about 300, and we're going to start coming down hard. There we go. And we're going to catch up on the profile. I don't foresee any big issue here, but that's fine. How to get back on VNAV path. So we can reduce our range a little bit. And I guess in just a few days, we'll be in a position where Microsoft and Asobo are going to tell us a lot more about MSFS 2024. Although, frankly, when you go back and look at the presentation they made at FS Expo, where they walked through the trailer that they had done for the X Games or Xbox Games showcase, you really learned a lot about what they've been up to, what they're thinking, how they were approaching this. It's quite interesting. It's a good watch if you haven't caught it. It's available on YouTube. But I think 2024 is obviously going to be a step forward. I think some of the things that folks are really excited about or hoping for may not actually be there. I don't know if there's going to be a big change like a weather API. I don't know if they're going to open the camera system. I'm not expecting anything miraculous on that scale. All right, so we passed to our transition level, and I'm going to go ahead and put us on our local QNH. Let's see if we can double check that over there. Yep. Let's see if it's updated. Yep, we're still at 1,000. Okay. Or 1,001. 1,001. We're still there. All right. And we're coming in hot now, but we're making it up. Let's give ourselves a little speed break so we can add some additional descent rate so we can get on profile. It's not going to be too difficult. The sky's pretty much open here. Here we come. March of progress. If we look over here, you can see we're catching up nice and quick. And we're going to be right on that profile, and then we can close out our speed window and we'll let the VNAV speed take back over when we're ready. Just make sure this is correct. Okay, here we go. Start retracting the speed brakes in a moment. Here we go. Speed brakes retracted. And we're going to close out the speed. Actually, we're going to help it a little bit here. Yep, it's going to want drag. Here we go. Get that drag. Drag, 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 drag. Help the speed come down. Coming along nicely. So we have speed restriction at pedal. It's going to be 240, and we're going to be at 3,000. Or it's not really a speed restriction. We're going to make it. We'll make it 220 at 3,000 for pedal. There we go. Just show you what we've updated here. So you can, I've added that, execute it. There we go. How come I'm not in real time? I just wanted you to be able to see. It's real weather. I just wanted to be able to see something out the window. Otherwise, it's just dark and boring. 4,000 feet per minute. Yeah, it's fast, but it's totally doable in these planes. I mean, this plane can descend mighty fast, so I'm not fussed. All right. But I kept speed brakes out a little too long there. And we're just staying on the path, so you can see we've got the throttles at idle. We're at VNAV. We're on VNAV path. That's what you want to see. I don't know why it's speeding up that much. It should not be. All right, here we go. We'll go ahead and get our approach set. So when I do the approach, what happens is the seatbelts come back on, and the landing lights come on, and that's all the excitement that happens there. Really wish it had improved the night light. I mean, I don't have a big complaint about the night lighting itself. It's just it's gonna be dark, and you know, it's just not as interesting if I'm doing a stream or looking out the window or whatever we're doing. I mean, done night lights, but you know, I like a nice morning flight, late afternoon. It's funny, when you look at that 4,000 feet per minute, you actually look at like the angle of attack, it's not all that steep. Still feel night lighting is poor. Okay. Fair enough. I don't know anyone has great night lighting. That I recall. But maybe it'll be improved in 2024 too. I think a lot of the atmospheric elements are being worked on. All right, well, we're rolling up here on what's going to be our final approach here just momentarily. We're a little bit high, so I'm going to add some speed brake back in. Go flaps 1. It's funny, we've been a little high, a little low, a little high, a little low. We're in VNAV speed. You don't want that at this point. So, all right, and we're going to open our speed window, take us down to flaps 1 speed. That covered. Give us flaps 5. Still a little bit high, but we're fine. At pedal, the only requirement was that you be above 3,000. I just set it a hard set at 3,000, so we should be okay. All right, and I'm going to arm the approach now. Just keep descending, my friend. Keep descending. Doesn't like to go down and slow down, as you know, but we'll do our best. Localizer is captured. We'll bring our speed down. We're making nice progress here. Let's bring it down slowly because we're catching back up on our profile here. Yep, keep it coming. Still a little bit high, but we're catching up now. All right, we're on VNAV path. We'll start retracting those speed brakes. Looking good. And we'll go flaps 15. Okay. Let's just double check our landing speed here. Just going to tweak that slightly. So we're going to set this thing for about 141. Just about. Yeah, we're 13 miles. Okay. Good on the speed. I can tell it's a little bumpy. No big deal. So our runway. We'll let local traffic know what we're doing. Kuwait traffic. Emirates 857 Heavy is on about 10-mile final for runway 33 right. Kuwait traffic. Alright, so we let everybody know what we're doing. Just as a kindness.
2500.
We go. Coming along. Still got our VNAV path. Should be capturing here any moment. Okay. Got the speed well under control. We're downright slow at this point. So as you can see, we have, sorry I didn't show you, but approach is armed. You saw that already as we captured the localizer, and you can see glide slope is armed. But we're not on it just yet. Coming here momentarily. And then we'll have our landing checklist in a moment. So I haven't heard anybody else on frequency. We're going to get our landing lights, I'm sorry, our taxi and runway turn-off lights on. So as you can see, when I do that with the landing, it arms the speed brakes. We've got glide slope capture, gear down, flaps 20. Now we'll just start dialing this down now to approach speed, going to be about 141. Flaps 25. Yeah, okay. It's upsetting me because the gear wasn't completely down yet. All right, and flaps 30. There we go. Okay. So you can see we have rollout and flare if we were doing an auto land, which we're not going to do. We have land 3 if we were going to do that. We're pretty much on speed. The auto throttle, keeping the auto throttles in, pretty standard. Kuwait traffic, Emirates 857. Short final, runway 33 right, Kuwait traffic. Alright, so we let them know what we're doing. Alrighty. You can see that wind's blowing pretty good. We're going to add a little tiny bit of extra speed here just to compensate in case we get a little gust. Make that 143.
1,000.
And we're stable. Alright, my airplane. So one thing I've noticed is tends to get a little tiny bit nose up on me. I like to correct it. The other thing that you see so often, of course, is pappies and other pieces don't really line up, which is a little bit of annoying. So I try to keep my eyes on my landing spot there, just watching those keys, making sure they stay in the same place. You can see we're getting a little bit to the right. Just really small adjustments with this plane. It's a fingertip flyer. Nah, we're not that low. Come on now, that's not true. Oh, right, our checklist. Yes, we're not that low. You can stop. Checklist is complete. There we go. There we go. Got it. We're a little tiny bit high. Yep. Little tiny bit high, as you can see. There we go. There we are. Hold it. Yeah. Oh well, we're really pushing the outside edge of that one. Don't do that at home, boys and girls. All right. And I got the reversers. They're coming in. That was a nice long landing. Don't do that at home. You do not want to land that long. Stow the reversers. Manual braking. There we go. Okay. And we'll just roll ourselves off the runway here. Okay. Come on now. See, it wasn't picking up my manual braking. There we go. Alrighty. It's funny, I tapped the brakes, but I tap them a little tiny bit harder. That's one of the things sometimes on this access. Alright, so I'm going to do my little after landing piece now. That turns off the auto brake, etc. Going to get the spoilers up, flaps up, and this is not an exit. Okay, it looks like an exit though. I'm pretty sure that's an exit. It's slightly weird. So this is some freeware that I have here that I grabbed off of flightsim.to. I don't know that we've got complete accuracy, but okay. Kuwait traffic. Emirates 857 is clear of runway 33 right, taxiing to Terminal 1. Okay, so we're going to have a look. Thank you all for the nice landing. Yeah, I'm in the touchdown zone, but it's just we're right out there on the edge. No question about that. No question about that. All right, so yeah, it was definitely a little long. Not my favorite. I like to land pretty close to the piano keys. All right, so we're taxiing via Echo 1 here. We're taxiing a little too fast, so we're going to slow down. And then we're going to come up to Echo 9, and then we're going to come across to Whiskey 14, and then over to spot 26. Thank you, Black Knight 344. Yeah, definitely wasn't early. I don't think nobody's going to dispute that point. Well, they can't all be you know, hung on the wall, so to speak. Also, I don't trust this landing rate thing at all. It's one of these things from Flow. I don't know if you've seen Flow, but it's not the greatest. Oh, there's no suitable gate parking here. Well, that's wonderful. I don't think it has any idea what gates are here. That's fine. We'll make it work. All right. So one of the things I have to tweak, I think I mentioned, was the sensitivity on the tiller here. It's a little tiny bit oversensitive, but that's okay. So as I said, this is some freeware. I'm really not sure how it's set up. I've never been here, so you're getting the first look with me. Sorry about that. As far as I know, I don't think there is any payware for this airport. Just have no recollection of that. All right, so let's do a couple of cleanup things. We can get the flight directors off, and we can go ahead and oh, APU's on. Okay, yep. Transponders back to transponder. Okay. Yeah, I mean, priority for me in terms of landing is I'm not that much on the landing rate. I like to be right on the center line, right in the touchdown zone. That's all that really matters to me. If it's a little firm, so be it. I've floated that one a little tiny bit, but such is life. We really need an A321neo. Sure. Sure, we'll get one at some point. Sure, we'll get one at some point. Having flown the A321neo a number of times transatlantic, it's a real workhorse these days. I don't know if MSFS 2020 going to fix the Pappy Light bug thing. Yeah, no idea. I'm not holding my breath. You know, I sort of put it in the category of there's a lot of things I'm not holding my breath. Do I think Microsoft, you know, Flight Simulator 2024 is going to be an interesting and product worth having? Yeah, definitely. Do I think it's going to meet every wish list? Hell no. It's not going to. It's just not going to. Alright, so we're going to slow down here. Make our turn. This is going to be our turn here. Hopefully there's a nice parking space for us. We'll see. I don't think it's going to be a fun park up, but we'll see what happens. Let's get that weather radar off. Okay. Traffic is off. I'll look at your comment there in just a second. Still working this one out. All right, and I believe this is our parking space here. We'll see. It's a little hard to see over here, but I think this is it. Well, all right. Well, maybe it's further to the right there. My bad. Let's slow that down. There we go. Just make sure we are where we're supposed to be. Yeah, that looks about right. All right, we'll add a little juice. Park her up. I call this park randomly, whatever you like. This was the parking spot I had been looking at, but, you know, who knows. I'm not sure where anyone would actually park this thing, but try to make it look semi-reasonable. Or at least out of the way. Alright, and we'll set the parking brakes. Parking brakes are set. Our APU is on. Let's just double check here. Wonderful. Alright, and we're going to get our engines off. And we can go ahead and let the passengers off. And there we go. So we can go ahead and get some ground services here. Have them set the chocks. Ground power's in. Alright. Go ahead and get off our... Oops, I'm sorry. That's wrong. Get our hydraulics off. Right, gotta start with the left when you're turning them off. We can get our fuel pumps off. And we can get an air conditioning unit on. Alright, and I thought they connected the external power, didn't they? Air condition inhibit. Okay. I don't think that's correct. Just double check that. Alright. That should not be correct. Should be able to do it this way. That's weird. Okay. Get our power on there. Get our APU off. And we can turn the ADRU off. And now, hey, the next group, we'll get our beacon, nav light, taxi lights off. And the next group can come in and do their thing. Sadat Mobile's Blackburn. I think MSFS 2024 better than X-Plane 12 anyway. Yeah. I'm sorry, but I use X-Plane 12 too. I mean, it's not a, you know, it's great to have competition in the simulator market. It's wonderful. If we didn't have it, that would be a really bad thing. But I'm not going to pretend that X-Plane 12 is that I prefer it over MSFS. I just don't. I just don't. And you know, it's not because the X-Plane folks don't do some great things, but it's just not. It's just not my favorite. I don't know how else to put it. It's just not my favorite. So, not that I never use it, but it's just not my favorite. All right, I'm going to check this landing, see, gosh, how long it was. Oh, boy. Yeah, it wasn't as bad as all that, but it wasn't great. You know, you forget how far ahead you're looking when you're looking at the out the window here. You know, the wheels are way behind you. So here's what it's showing us. It wasn't too terrible. It wasn't great, but it wasn't fantastic. And it's saying 196 at 136. So the good news is on the 136, and I always think this is a key thing, we're right on VREF. That was the VREF. So we landed properly. It wasn't the most beautiful. Not by a long shot. Not my greatest landing, but I'll take it. I'll take that every day. So, all right. Well, any other questions from the group before we roll up for the day? Well, the stream said 169 and Volanta said 196. Yeah, I mean, that's just it. These things are practically, they're interchangeable and useless for the most part. I like the speed. I'll take, as I say, I care more about centerline and VREF and being in the touchdown zone. So I'm happy with all of that. Looks like it was slightly to the right, but in the scheme of things, I think I'll take it. It'll do. I don't believe in the butter nonsense. for one thing, every real world pilot I know, and there's a good number of them, butter is not a thing. Greaser maybe, but butter is not a thing. Anyway, I appreciate y'all tuning in. I hope this was fun. And if you have any more questions, and nice stream. Sorry, I can't quite read that. For some reason, it always blocks the thing on the bottom here. Here, let me move this. Placeholder. Ignore me here just for a second. I'm putting a placeholder in here so I can read what you said. Nice stream, though it was better than I thought. Oh, well, I appreciate that. Thank you. Well, maybe you'll want to tune in again. Please subscribe if you haven't. Thumbs up are always appreciated. I always forget to say that. And we have, as you might see if you go back and look at our channel, we also have a podcast that we do where we talk about things going on in Flight Sim. But my partner in the podcast, Felix, has been is just super busy with some family stuff, so I'm keeping this going with videos and live streams and whatever else we come up with along the way, and really appreciate you all tuning in. And we'll see you next time.